Boys are going to bring the heat today.
As the leader of the Booner Path, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff, Booner, Lukas. It is Monday, February 24th, and it's nice to see you fellas. All right, you guys did a great job. Whoever missed out, you missed out because you guys really held it down. On Friday, though, I had some bones to pick with maybe Klotzy's draft selections. We kind of hashed it out earlier today. We broke some bread, kind of. Caleb, I had a problem with it, but you guys crushed it. I'm happy to be back. I'm fired up.
Yeah, hey, it's good to have you back. You know what, I want to say this, Klotz, you can agree or disagree with me. Can we get a little bit more energy from the man after a little vacation? Huh?
Yeah, he comes back just ripping my mock draft.
Yeah, just
people took Shamar Stewart 15th overall, probably. The upside is there. Like, come on, man.
Hey, your mock draft, you were terrible in our mock draft, but I just want some more energy.
The only questionable one was Xavier Restrepo, and that was a personal thing. I'm not letting him walk.
I'll say this. There was a couple questionable picks through the whole draft that
Will Johnson?
I mean, I love Will.
To the Seahawks. Like
the fact that he didn't go. No, not to the. Yeah, that was you.
I didn't have team. Oh yeah, because I thought it was.
Yeah, that was you. It's every single. I'll say this: every single pick that I've seen that's gotten questioned on our mock draft somehow just winds up all the way back to Klotzy, which I love you, Klotzy. Hey, bold takes.
The boldest was Colson Loveland over Tyler Warren. That wasn't me.
That was bold as well. You and Caleb just really I was like, all right, first mock draft Friday with the whole first round. Let's ease into this thing. The boys just like, hey, I just want hot takes tonight. And I was like, all right, whatever. Klotzy too, one of the most diabolical moves of all time. Klotz just every single pick. Bring, making the noise to call for a trade, and him not even be able to make trades.
He my pick.
He might be a top 5 worst GM to do deals with because it's like, who's that GM that prank calls people on draft night? It was a former Lions guy. That's Klotz when we're doing that.
Yeah, that's Klotz. Yeah, Klotz, he's trying to trade other teams' picks for other teams' picks. I love it.
That was crazy. And it wasn't even like it was just once. It was like every time he called, he was like, oh, like, bro, you don't even have that pick. He's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no, you guys, it was awesome. You guys did a good job, man. I'm fired up. I'm happy to be back. It's Mock Draft Monday. So, of course, on Mondays, you guys know how it is. We got our mocks. We'll break them down. Potentially debate. Last week was pretty smooth. We didn't really debate. We just agreed and had a good conversation. Maybe today we debate a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, I'm fired up about it. I mean, it's Mock Draft Monday, and we got the Combine this week, which we will be there.
We will. It's a big week for the boys. By the way, too, I really hope, and I hate this because we want to talk to people at the Combine. I hope we get to be able to just sit down with some people and just have some good conversations. I hope we do. The doc is there today. He sent me a picture at St. Elmo's Steakhouse, which we will not be going to, boys. I tried to get a reservation.
Tried to res.
They are packed for the week. So if anyone here knows Elmo's, actually, that does remind me. Yeah, that would be sick.
Yeah, St. El. Yeah, that's it's probably Dan Campbell. Maybe Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes indulging in some steaks. Probably every GM and coach there. Probably. I know John's there. We'll just miss him because he's leaving Wednesday. We're going there Thursday. We'll be there till Sunday. So we'll see all the position groups. Well, speaking of T-Mac, we'll get to see T-Mac run. We'll get to see all these top prospects making it, maybe rising or falling. We found out a lot about the quarterbacks and wide receivers last year. So, even your guy, Lukas, who's the receiver? Who's the receiver from Denver?
Troy Franklin.
Yeah, getting to see that. Yeah,
couldn't keep his feet.
Yeah.
Hey, but he ended up. He wasn't bad this year. I mean, in Denver,
he got better late. He did. He
had like one long touchdown, the lone touchdown for the Broncos against the Bills, and that's all she wrote on his season, pretty much.
Oh no,
that was it. Either way, though, like to put more context in it too. I know you guys agree with me. Like the Combine is not something that should overwhelm your opinion out of somebody that you had before. Like, in my opinion, if somebody flies up multiple rounds because of the combine, most of the time, I'm trying to think of somebody who hasn't, that, like, when you look at the John Rosses of the world and people who just run crazy 40 times, I think Xavier Worthy, but he was already kind of slotted in like that second round. He moved up kind of like half a round late to the Chiefs. So, I mean, I don't like the 40 time. If you have that sway you, I think it's just a recipe for disaster.
To be honest, Klotz, though, and I will say this too, like, I don't think it's the 40, at least for me. And I think like GMs and people, like when we were there last year, like when you're watching on TV, it's a little different, but like when you're there in person, like you're able to see like how big are these guys? What's the size? Like the size of these guys, like how athletic are they actually for how big they are? Like defensive linemen, linebackers. I'll say this, like last year, a guy that stood out to us, Bucky Irving. And he really wasn't talked about it much, but when we were at the combine, I think I might have been sitting next to you, Jeff, and we were like, hey, Bucky Irving looks good. And no one's talking about him, but he had a great combine, and it wasn't his 40, but it was like all the drills that they went through in the running backs group. It was like Bucky dominated everything. He looked fast. He had size. He was big. Like his footwork, everything was great, but like no one really talked about it out in the outside world. But when the draft came around, the Bucks get him, and he's one of the best backs in the league now, top 15, top 20. And you're like sitting there, and you're like, hey, we saw that at the combine. So I like, if you take away like the 40 and all that, like that's cool. But I think more so like these individual drills. Like we got to see some receivers that you could tell struggle. Hey, what's his name? Keon Coleman. Like we questioned a little bit at the combine. He looked a little iffy here and there. And like he wasn't one of the best wide receivers in the class this year. His freshman year, was he, or rookie year? So I do think there is a sense of like in these drills, and I think that's why a lot of GMs and coaches do stay to watch. It's because you get to see how some of these guys, like how athletic are they actually? Like how do they perform under a little bit of pressure? And the guys who are actually good, like they perform.
Yeah,
see it clearly.
Like the gauntlet drill is great for wide receivers. Keon killed that. So Ladd McConkey killed that.
Ladd he was the best in it, and now look at him this year.
I think it's I would use the combine to confirm what you've already seen on tape. I think that's a good way to phrase it. Like what you've seen on tape. Okay, this guy plays fast. Does he run fast? Like, you know, you're like looking at just to confirm, like you said, Lucas, you're not like the combine isn't like the Bible, but it is nice to see those prospects in person working out.
I do think too, Klotz, like I think it's really good for back end guys that are there that like aren't first round guys. Cause like, again, you can just watch the film and you like, no, it confirms the film. But for guys, like, you're not going to be able to watch film on every player. I'm sure some of these guys do, but some of these like guys that you really aren't talking about, when you get to see them at the combine, like you get to see, I'm sure some of these front offices find some new names at the combine, and then they start looking deeper into it, and they're like, okay, yep, here we go. Like now we know about this guy a little bit more. That's why I like going to the combine. We get to see some like names that it's like, whoa, here we go.
Even on the fence guys, like a Shamar Stewart getting hyped up. Like if he moves well, they're gonna glaze. He's gonna be highly glazed for sure. And we are going to talk to Scott Ross, Russell Brown. Those two do stuff for Detroit Lions podcast, and they're great draft analysts. We're going to have them on. I'm trying to get Matt Miller on. I'm waiting. They said after the combine we could probably get Matt Miller on. So there's some great draft minds coming on here in the next couple of weeks. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe, because we're going to have some great draft content. Aside from all the stuff we'll be covering down in Indy for 4 days. I mean, we'll be there all day, every day. So it'll be a lot of fun there. But before we get into all the draft stuff later in the show, there's more things we're going to get to now. I did want to bring this up that it is confirmed. It was rumored, actually, there was no team name, that a team in the NFL was trying to get rid of the tush push. Rumored, a team. And then Diana Rossini was like, we got his ass. We know who the team is. It's the Green Bay Packers. They are the team that submitted the proposal to the NFL's competition committee to ban the tush push, per sources. Is this a W or is this an L from the Packers? We like this? For banning
have you guys ever seen a play like this get banned? Is there like an instance you guys can remember?
Not that I could recall. There could be. Not one that comes off of memory though, at least in my lifetime.
Like a single play. I don't mind, to be honest. I'm like in the middle on this. Like if it gets banned,
pick plays.
I just to me it's like I'm in the middle on this. Like it's just if it gets banned, I'm not mad because we don't do it. And if it doesn't, then who cares? Like, you just got to find a way to stop it. I will say this, that Washington situation, you guys remember that at the 1 yard line to
Frankie
where
Louvu.
Yeah, Frankie, and I think that's a smart thing to do. I just didn't like the point to where like the refs are able to just to award a touchdown. I think maybe you should take that away so you can give teams a chance if they want to kind of mess with them a little bit. You know,
I'll say that I think this is a rare Packers W. I think this is a rare Packers W. I hate the tush push. I think it's in people's, and when people say the term, if you like shift God, if you have a problem with it, fucking stop it. That's the problem. I mean, no one can stop the Eagles doing it. So I don't know how to feel like.
Oh, okay. Then they should have stopped Tom Brady to Wells Welker at the 2-yard line. They should have stopped Patrick Mahomes to Tyreek Hill 6-yard.
Hey, should have stopped Jamal Williams punching it in from the 1.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, you could say, well, it's the offensive line. Like, no, a huge part of that is Jalen Hurts. Like, dude, he's a strong motherfucker, especially from the waist down. No diddy. But when you look at then the offensive line in front of it, like that's just a formula they found that worked that obviously no one can replicate, because if the Lions could do it with Jared Goff, they would be doing it. Like you see teams go for it with pretty much every quarterback they have at 4th and inches. But a lot of the times when you have a good running back, you're going to hand the running back the ball. But when you have Jalen Hurts, who's as strong as he is behind that offensive line, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And at the end of the day, like we're acting like this team has won multiple Super Bowls because of this. No, like they got bounced out of the wild card last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. Then they went on to win the Super Bowl. So it's just the Packers, again, soft. This is Matt LaFleur.
Okay, that's not
his eyebrows, his eyelashes. Calling up the goons, having issues. He's complaining about it, calling to the owner that they don't have. So they're probably sitting at the board of committees wearing their cheese heads, just complaining. Complaining is all they do. They're a spoiled franchise. They've never been truly bad like all the other teams. And now that they're in a little bit of turmoil, they're trying to complain. Soft franchise.
I don't know. I mean, that has nothing to listen, what Klotz said has nothing to do with the
soft
rule.
Franchise.
Well,
soft coach, soft GM, soft quarterback.
They proposed it, but the league, I mean, you might have the Lions as a team that's like, I don't mind it. Ban it. You know, so if the Lions jump in there, then what do you say?
I think, if I'm being honest, I'm pretty sure that they've
Soft
tried
call.
to. I think they've put it in there before. Yeah, I'm with you, Jeff. Like, I don't like if the Lions hop in and I would not be shocked if half of the NFL is like, "Yep, I'll do it." I don't think it's just the Packers. The Packers, I'm sure, for them to push it in there, no pun intended. But I'm sure they've had conversations with other franchises. Like, yep, like I would back you if you did this. We
don't need another official review where it's 4th and inches. They're like, well, did the running back touch the back of the quarterback and push it? Like, no, because then they'll just.
To be fair, Klotz, that's not a good argument, because that would never. Why would you review if the running back? If it's illegal, they're not going to do it. If it's illegal, and to that point, they review the tush push every time almost. Like 70% of the time, you review
clearly a first down. There's be more rules where if
I'm just saying that point, that's an invalid point. It's an invalid.
The play's been around for all of time.
Not real. It's
the QB sneak has been around forever. All they're doing,
not the tush.
That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing.
Okay.
It's I don't know. Like Frankie Louvu trying to stop it. And like that is literally the only way to potentially stop it. And he's jumping. He's jumping off sides. Like he can't. They had what was it? 2 or 3 straight times, and they were like and they just kept going in. I don't know.
There's zero way to stop it with the Eagles. There's zero way. It'll never be
literally
stopped.
a 0%.
It'll never. It's 100% success rate. And then when you think you stop it, guess what? They reverse it to Saquon, and he's running outside, and you're like, oh no, thought we had it.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
I don't think, and you know what?
Lean towards you, Boone, where it's like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Klotz trying to be all big and bad with his big nuts over here, being like, it's soft. No, it's an annoying.
Dude.
It's more annoying watching the tush push. What are you talking about? The tush push is the worst play of all time.
I think it's the worst.
It's like, oh, they got it again.
Oh, they got it because it's so successful.
They got it again. Oh, they got it again.
It's okay to appreciate some things like that. We're trying to change the game all the fucking time to make it more fair, more friendly. Like, it's football, dude. Let's stop trying to overcomplicate it. It's annoying every season. Like, oh, change the game.
See, this is the point where I agree with you, Klotz. You have good points sometimes on change, like don't change certain rules, but you take that to a different level to where you're like, no rules in the world should be changed. Like there are some, but there are some dumb ones. Like the onside kick rule. Like what are they? All right, go ahead.
I was going to say, we've had more rule changes over the last 5
I
years.
agree with that.
So
I agree
we
with
can
you.
take a break for a little bit.
But
The
there
amount of
are
rule
some
changes
that are
we
too
have need to be
excessive.
spanned over a decade, and they've been made over 5 years. It's fucking annoying.
You just, Klotz, you got to pick and choose the rules. You can't every time. There are some good rule
I'll
changes.
stay consistent where the game doesn't need changed anymore.
Yeah, he's the yell at the clouds.
He's the 90-year-old guy that's with his
I'll
cane.
be that way.
Those
No,
old
'cause I
people.
I hate a bunch of rule changes. I don't love like a bunch of rules being like the NBA changing it's just annoying. I hate it. But there is there are some things where like I'm with you, Boone, where I'm like, actually, I don't mind that, to be honest with you.
Because I hate some of the rules. I was with Klotz all last summer. They were making stupid rule changes, not being able to onside kick whenever you want, and you can't onside kick in the fourth quarter.
Dumb.
There are some just stupid rule changes, but there are some to where it's like, okay, like is there a disadvantage for another team? Yeah, probably. And it's something to where it's like as the game evolves, it's like as they figured out different rules in basketball, or like as the game grows, you're gonna find different ways where it's like, hey, that just probably should not be a part of the game, and you change it, and it's like, okay, that's fair. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just some like that, like the chop block tackle, like that wasn't always illegal, but like guys' knees are getting destroyed, so it's like, okay, we probably should change this a little bit to where you can't do that. The hold, I'm sure holding wasn't always a rule, Klotzy, but the game evolved and they had to be like, hey, you probably shouldn't be able to hold on to the other. You're not hearing my point. You're not hearing my point. You're just too stuck on, you're being too hard-headed on that one thing. There are some parts of the game that do need to evolve, and you need to look at it and be like, yes, like there was like you could have probably held at one point in you could have probably clipped. You probably could have grabbed face masks at one point when they first got face masks. Like when they started realizing, hey, the game needs to change. This seems like maybe one of those moments in the NFL. That's it. And like Steve-O baby, there were no 2-point conversions back in the day. Now they've added them. Now teams have opportunities to take the lead. You know,
I like it.
The game evolves. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's for the worst. Now, Klotzy?
Oh, well, here's the thing. It's holding has been changed. Give me outside. So you think that the tush push is affecting all 32 teams around the NFL, is changing their seasons? It's unfair. Or is it only the Philadelphia Eagles when they do it? So if it's a league-wide thing, it's not. It's just the league not being able to stop it. There's no
I just think there are plays like that.
Okay, so give me the plays outside of it.
What I'm saying is there are situations where it's like, hey, I'm not saying completely, but like, hey, take a look at this. Is there something we can help out to make this better, and to where it's not a disadvantage? On like we could put it on a level playing field to where you can do it. Maybe you can't have 3 guys push you. Maybe it can only be 1, and that's the rule. You can't have more than 1 guy push. Or maybe there's this. It's like the blocks where, hey, you can't have a guy hit you from the top and the bottom, or that's a penalty. But you can have a guy hit you from the bottom. Like there's just certain things. Maybe they just need to look at it and say, hey, like we need to adjust this to make it to where at least the defense has an opportunity to stop it. Because right now there's 0 chance. It's like literally 100% hit rate.
But not, okay.
And I'm sure if you look around the league, it's like a 90% hit rate for other teams. So it's like it is definitely a disadvantage when you're 4th and inches, 3rd and inches.
So I want to move on here. We got some comments, and we have a super chat from Nobody. He says absolute electricity from the boys on Thursday and Friday. Appreciate you, Nobody, for that. That's big time.
Shout out.
Coach Walk, he says, if you don't want the Eagles to do it, then stop them. Not many other teams can do it. You can't fault the Eagles for finding a play that basically has a success rate of 100% for them. Yeah, I mean, I get that. If it was the Lions, I don't think anyone would have an issue with it. So there's that. All right, I want to get into, before we get to the mock draft Monday discussion, I want to have a talk about this Lions offensive line, because I think it's not talked about enough of what it's going to look like moving forward. Not like everything's going to change, but with some players maybe struggling a little bit last year due to injury, due to other things. But the fact of the matter is Taylor Decker and Graham struggled. Those are 2 of your starting offensive linemen. Klotzy.
Frank.
If Frank get
old. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. He's not even like old. Because I think like that, but then I look him up. He's like 29. He's like, but his foot, like the foot's like,
got no tread left on the tire.
The injuries, man.
It's tough.
But Klotzy, you had you recorded some things today. We're going to put out a video tomorrow breaking it down more in depth, but you had a proposal or maybe a certain idea what the Lions should do with their offensive line or what it should look like.
Yeah, boys. And it might be a tough conversation, and you guys don't have to agree with me because at the end of the day, I get the other side. But Boone brought it up last week, especially talking about the offensive line, and we talked about it even a little bit during the regular season in the games that it showed. But it's time to trade Taylor Decker, fellas. Like, Taylor Decker has been a very good player for this Lions team for a long time, but you look at the last 2 seasons, he's given up 16 sacks. 16 sacks with the last 2 seasons. If you go to the 4 seasons prior, that's more than all of them combined. And then we saw last year, he missed 3 games. That's the most he's missed in a long time, too. When you look at Taylor Decker, the football that he is going to play is only going to decline. When you look at all of the contenders in the NFL, especially in the NFC, what is everyone saying? Go get pass rushers, improve your front 7. So naturally, offensive lines are going to struggle a little bit more if all these contenders are taking it as seriously as they should, which they should be all the time. But now that's just the narrative for every team. You look at the Rams, the Commanders, the Eagles, they're still going to add to it. The Bears, they're looking to add to their front 7. And when you look at Taylor Decker at that left tackle spot, if he now becomes a weakness on this offensive line, you saw what happened to Patrick Mahomes both times in the Super Bowl when he didn't have a left tackle. In my opinion, Taylor Decker just got re-signed to a new contract, so it's kind of a sign and trade. You just signed him. I believe it was 3 years, $60 million, so about $20 a year. If you look over in New England, in my opinion, you see Mike Vrabel, former Buckeye, Taylor Decker, former Buckeye. What do they have? A developing quarterback in Drake May, who they need to protect. And I think if you put in Taylor Decker, year 1 there, he's better than their left tackle right now without a doubt. And that allows them, I believe they have the 4th overall pick, could be 3rd. But everyone's slotting Mason Graham there. And if you, or not Mason Graham, Will Campbell. And if you're able to say, hey, Mike, instead of having to use that on left tackle this year, we'll give you Taylor Decker, take Mason Graham, Mike Vrabel, defensive head coach, Terrell Williams, we're all familiar with him with the Lions, defensive line guy. He gets Mason Graham. You don't think he's going to be happy? And then if you get that 3rd round pick, now the Lions are sitting with 3 third-round picks. So now Brad Holmes has more ammunition to move up in the draft, and you'll see who I take. I did the situation in my mock draft. But if you add Penei Sewell and a top tackle in this draft class, your line gets cheaper. That allows you to add more assets to your interior offensive line and to that front 7 this offseason. Because Taylor Decker's on a big contract, so that'll clear a lot of cap space, add more to that front 7, add more to the interior of the offensive line in free agency. So I get it. Taylor Decker has been really good for a long time, but he's not getting any better.
Jeff?
Here's I think in theory, Klotz, in terms of money, and if you're looking at everything on paper, it makes a ton of sense to think, well, I'm paying my aging left tackle this amount of money. We can draft a very good tackle that's cheap and replace him with that tackle. Like, in theory, it makes sense, but in reality, it's not going to happen. The Lions will never trade Taylor Decker. I think that's the reality. And now, whether it's right or wrong is another thing. Now, in my opinion, I think for Taylor, this year, to me, is a massive year for him, even though he's under contract. But if Taylor struggles again this year, then you're in a situation where you have to really consider either A, drafting a tackle high next year, or B, moving Penei to left. Like, you have to really consider one of 2 things if Taylor continues to struggle, because one thing I don't think is smart is to look at a struggling, aging left tackle, all due respect, love Taylor, but if that's the reality next year, and then just go, well, we love him, so we're going to keep him at left. I don't think that's the right way to do it, nor do I think the Lions will do it, but I would give him another year. I think he's earned it. But in theory,
yeah,
I don't think you're crazy. I don't think you're crazy for saying that.
So I'll say this with you, Klotz. Like last week, I brought up the point, and I had the segment where we're talking about, hey, this is something that needs to be addressed moving forward. It's Brad has built, and I think everyone in the chat will agree with me. They kind of agreed last week as well, is Brad has built this team in the trenches offensively. Defensively is a different story with outside of Hutch, or in a lean, but offensively it's been built in the trenches. And the reason Jared Goff is so good, the reason guys like Amon-Ra and Gibbs, and yes, they all have talent, but like it all starts with the offensive line. Like being able to protect Jared Goff, being able to open up holes. You saw Jamal Williams a couple years break Barry Sanders' record. Like you've seen it from the trenches. But the biggest thing is, it's like, to me, you can't just, to me, it's like not building it and just a quick fix. Like, hey, trade Taylor Decker, bring in someone, boom. Like, no, I think it's a situation like with Graham, like last year. You've seen the last couple of years, Brad has drafted all linemen like Christian Mahogany. He's going to end up potentially being the replacement for Graham this year. Hey, you have to find someone in the draft to potentially replace Frank at some point. Maybe you draft him this year or next year, the year after, in the next 2 or 3 years. The next 2 or 3 years, you have to find someone to replace Taylor Decker. And if you can't find one of those guys, then that's where free agency comes into play. I just don't see a world, to be honest. Like, I agree with your initial point. Like, this offensive line is going to have to get patched back up and kind of rebuilt up at some point because the money, the contracts, the age, like it's going to happen. I just don't see a world, to be honest, Klotz, at all. I think there's like literally, and I think there's a 0% chance, or maybe one. I'll give you one, a 1% chance where Taylor Decker's on the trade block. Like, I just don't think they extend him, and then a year, like he has a down year. He's been there long enough with Dan and Jared to where they're just like, we're giving up on him instantly. I really don't. I think that's like the last thing this team will do. And I think money-wise, I get what you're saying with the clearing the money, but I just can't see a world where you're like, we're just going to move off Taylor Decker like that. Now, maybe there's a world where you move him to right and move Pinay to left so you have better protection on the lefts. I don't know. And he's never played right tackle, so I don't know. But I just can't see a world where it's like Taylor Decker's ever going to be on the trade block unless maybe in a year or two. Like, the only realistic scenario to me is what Jeff said. If he has a back-to-back bad year and you have a backup plan, like I think that's the biggest thing. Even if you draft a guy top 15, you just don't know. He's not guaranteed to come in and be that level. Like, as much as Taylor didn't play well, when he's playing at his best, he's still at his best a top 20 tackle in the NFL. So it's like, if he's as bad as you're saying he is, Klotzy, like who's even going to want to trade for him at that point with the contract? So that's where I get a little
Taylor Decker
iffy.
And his contract. I don't think Taylor Decker is a terrible tackle, but Taylor Decker is definitely a declining tackle that is going to turn into a lot of money. That's going to be, at the end of the day, holding this team back in the next 2 to 3 years. Taylor Decker still has some value. He's already had back-to-back bad years, and they're trying to replace him with these depth pith like Corby Sorsdahl, Giovanni Manu. But at the end of the day, if you're giving me a left offensive line with Graham Glasgow and Taylor Decker at that position, they're going to be at some disadvantages in big games against elite offense or defensive lines. So in my opinion, you go and you trade Taylor Decker for a 3rd-round pick, because I don't think that's much asking price, because you look at the positional value of left tackle and teams that, you're right, if you're not sitting in that top 15, you're not going to find a guy that can day one give you that Taylor Decker impact. And the team needs, they're going to be in front of that, like quarterbacks. If some teams are going to take defensive end instead of tackles. But if you get in that top 15, which we'll talk about a little bit by mock draft, and you can have Penei Sewell with a Kelvin Banks, a Will Campbell, a Josh Simmons, now you're talking about 2 tackles for the future. Because if you look at those guys on tape, the guy out of Missouri, I can't think of his name. I understand pushing back there, but if you look at those 3 on tape, it's hard to see how they don't align. If you want to move Penei to left tackle and one of those guys to right, I don't see how that is not a really good situation to be in, because those guys are going to hit. They're with a good offensive line, so they're not going to be asked to be the guy. And at the end of the day, at the 2-3 years they're going to be there, I trust their progression with Hank Fraley rather than watching Taylor Decker decline, because they're going to add more athleticism. They're going to make the cap books cheaper. So now you can add to the strength of the interior of the offensive line. Like I said, the front 7, it gives the team more flexibility down the road.
So the problem is, though, Klotz, like there's a couple things to that. Like the problem is one, none of those guys probably in the first round are going to be at the Taylor Decker level instantly on this offensive line. Like right away, no. Down the line, 2 or 3 years, Klotz, yeah, probably. Like, because of the age thing, like obviously Taylor's declining, but like if you look at Taylor's, like, and this is how I know it's 0% chance instead of 1%. Taylor Decker has an out in his contract, an opt out after next year. So after 2025, there's an opportunity for the Lions to opt out, to where if Jeff, to your point, has a bad year, all right, We can move on. Now, obviously, there's dead cap and all these different things that go with it, but they set this up. They did his extension knowing, hey, his age, everything that's happening with him. Like, this man, as bad as he was, I don't know how he was a Pro Bowler this year, but if he is healthy and he's playing at a high level this next year, you're going to get more out of him than you would one of these first round picks. That's just a fact at the end of the day. Like, that's all it is, really. And it's like, if you want to go kind of future, to me, it's like, I think it's irresponsible to go all the way up into the early first round for Brad Holmes to go up there and get a tackle when you already have Taylor and Panay and you're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. Like, I think that's irresponsible, because that's like, it's like you're patching up for 3, but like Klotz, like we've had these arguments before where you're like, you're all in on going to get an edge, and we're not looking at 3 years down the line. We're not looking at 3 years down the line. We're looking at today. You can win a Super Bowl this year. But then there's these conversations with the tackles to where you're like, now I'm all of a sudden looking 3 years down the line. I'm looking 3 years down the line. But it's like, I thought we were just on this page a week ago where we're sitting here and it's like, I want an edge. Like, it's this year. It's 2025. It's Myles Garret. It's this. But now all of a sudden it's, hey, a position that we're already decent in, we're just upgrading just to upgrade for 3 years down the line. That makes no sense to me. And if Brad did the move that you're saying, I think it's like an irresponsible move. And I trust Brad, but I can't see him being like, let's upgrade Taylor Decker when you need other positions. If you think
that's irresponsible, that's fine. But I look at this draft class, I look at how deep it is at the defensive end specifically. And I think if you believe, which I do, and we'll talk about in a little bit, like I said, there is a rookie who can step in and make a difference day one that is to the level similar of Taylor Decker, and he's more athletic, I like my chances there. And there's 2 guys that I think will, and one of them will fall to the Lions in my mock draft that I do. So I think, yes, day one, there's a guy that can be better than Taylor Decker in this draft class. Second thing is, if you're able to get more assets, they already have 2 third-round picks. If you acquire another one, even if it's a 4th-round pick for Taylor Decker, because he's not going to go for a 5th, 6th-round pick. He's a left tackle that still has 2 or 3 solid years in front of him. I think if you can get a solid year one that's to Taylor Decker's level and gets better and he's cheaper, that's a good option. But now it gives Brad more ammo to spend on the edge position. This would be a route that I go if you don't get Myles Garret. At the end of the day, I hope Myles Garret comes to Detroit, but it's not a sure thing. It's not going to be a guy that gets traded on draft night. Myles Garret could potentially get traded post-draft where the Cleveland holds out and says, no, we're going to use this draft pick and you're going to give us more for next year. So there's a lot of things that can still go down with the Myles Garret situation. I would prefer that, but there's different areas to look at that I think help this team, because we can't act like, oh, you don't draft the edge with your first overall pick in the first round, then you're just this offseason is a wash. Like, no, there's tons of time. And I think Taylor Decker is not somebody who's irreplaceable at this point. I don't.
Yeah, I think, and I want to make this very clear, although I think Taylor last year dealing with injuries, there's games where he looked bad. I don't think the entire year was bad. Like, that would insinuate he had more bad games than good, which I don't think's the case. I think he showed there was games where you're like, oh, you know, like whether it's injuries, whether it's, I don't know what it is, but he looked rough, him and Graham. But I think there were games where you're like, okay, like that's the guy that you paid. So you're hoping next year you get more good than bad, which I think they got this year. But there were some moments where, like I said, you were concerned about it. But I don't want to go as far. I know we get lost in like the debate and the argument that like Taylor Decker's all of a sudden just bad. And we don't think that. We don't. He's not, but no, because he had games. I mean, you don't like it.
Last year he was good too. Like the year before, this year he had that knee injury to where they were like, it could be season ending. Like if you want to take the season off to go get surgery and end it, they were like, go ahead, do it. And then he said, no, give me a couple of weeks. And he went and played, and he struggled because of the knee injury. Like it was clear he had an injury. And like if you want to use that as an excuse, I just don't see a world again. I just go back to, are you going to find a guy in the first round this year unless you trade up into the top and go get what's his name, Will Campbell, and just go up all the way up to where you're going to sit there and be like, yep, you have a guy right away that's going to step in. And if you want to move Panay to the left, and to like, I just don't see that world. And I would rather honestly, like if we really don't want Taylor, like get to next year and if you want to opt out if he's bad again. But again, this is a Pro Bowl guy we're talking about who had a bad year because of injury, to where if you move off of him, I know he's getting older, but if you could sit there next year and still have a guy at that level, not injured at that level, and you're trying again, Klotz, this is that argument that it's basically me versus you and Jeff on the Myles Garret, not even just Myles Garret, but the edge position at 28, to where you guys were going at me a couple weeks ago, and I switched my tone on it about, hey, you have to win a Super Bowl this year. wasting assets on positions you don't need and wasting picks and doing this at things you don't need, like it's irresponsible. And like that's where I'm at with this. It's like Taylor is an asset to this team when he's healthy. And just to say, hey, let's just get off of him just to get off of him because he had a tough year because he was injured. I would just rather put the resources towards defense. The offense, it's like we're trying to find things on offense where it's like we're nitpicking a little bit. Like if we're not going to nitpick anything on the offensive line, let's have a conversation about Graham Glasgow, huh? You boys want to do that? Like that's, to me, it's like, who was the real problem on the offensive line? Let's have the Graham Glasgow convo. But like, to me, it's like I'm putting all my effort into defense if I'm Brad Holmes in this draft and the trades and free agency and all of that. That's just me though. That especially from the last few weeks, the combos that we've had.
I get that, but my whole point is everybody this offseason is going to have that philosophy. And we talked about, like Jeff just said, we saw games where Taylor Decker, there was some games where he's bad, some games overall more better than worse. At what point, because do you guys think Taylor Decker is going to get better, worse, the same next year?
I think this year he'll be better because he's not going to, like, if he comes back from injury. Because you're saying his downfall is from what?
Can I finish?
He was injured?
Asking,
you just asked a question, so I answered.
And I'm just asking for a yes or no. That's all I'm asking for.
Oh, you didn't say yes or no. You asked a question.
That's why I said better, worse. Okay, so you say yes. My thing is he's going to be 32 when the year starts. Left tackle, you need to be light on your feet. You're going up against athletic guys. We do not see guys outside of Lane Johnson, Andrew Whitworth, Trent Williams, all first ballot Hall of Famers that get consistently better or stay at the same level at that all-pro level, which Taylor Decker is not at, to be consistently be at a left tackle spot. When you look at these left tackles, when they get shipped, it's usually around 31 to 34 years old. Taylor Decker is not going to be any better. What did you guys just say? He's a former Pro Bowler. He has value. Whether we like it or not, in my opinion, Taylor Decker is somebody that you're going to have to move off of in the next couple of seasons. So if you give yourself and that's a huge position to try to revamp, is the left tackle spot. You have Penei Sewell. Okay, he's at left tackle. Go replace Penei Sewell on the right side when Kevin Zeitler is probably going to be gone after next season because I think they re-sign him. My point is, get ahead of this while you can, while you still are going extremely heavy at the edge spot. So now when the left tackle spot becomes a problem with Taylor Decker, you don't have to go into that because I think Taylor Decker, that left tackle spot is huge because if you go through a season with the left tackle issue, it does not pan out well down the road. I think left tackle and edge are basically the same thing just for the offense and defensive side of the ball. You're not winning a Super Bowl if you don't have a good defensive edge room. You're not winning a Super Bowl if you have a bad left tackle room.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. At least I'm using over the cap. I mean, if they trade them, you're going to have a cap hit of dead money of $30 million. So that's tricky. You know, like if you trade them, they eat for this year, they eat that 30 million. So that's tricky. To your point, you're talking about the next couple of years. I just think I disagree with it now. Maybe I would say, and I don't know if you disagree or agree with this, Boone. I think Klotz, where his head's at, you're about a year too early.
Yeah,
I think.
Listen, I don't think Klotz is wrong in the point of, hey, there's a potential there's a chance Taylor Decker declines, but as the Lions, like you're in a spot to where it's like this offseason isn't the year. Like there are times where like potential players were like, yeah, that guy could be on the cut block, trade block. To me, it's just like there's a 0% chance that Taylor Decker would be. There's no chance. That's with the money, they just signed the contract. There's an opportunity for a potential opt-out after this next year, knowing the fact that he was injured. Like, I just think, like, if you go down the line of it, none of it really lines up to, like, Klotz, I get the point of, the age. Like, it makes sense. It's just more so, like, and I want to see I want to see him healthy this year. If he's healthy this year, and then if he's not, then we can opt out and move on. But if he's healthy this year, then you can sit there or make an argument. Hey, maybe after next year we move him to right tackle and you let Penei go left. I think it's just one more year to kind of get that feel for it.
Well, you'll get to see who Klotzy has in mind because we're going to start the mock draft Monday for Crunch Time Sports. We do it every single Monday. We give our mock drafts. Last week we didn't make a trade. We didn't trade at all. Mm-hmm. This week we're trading.
A couple this week. I made 2 trades actually this week.
Yeah, you both did the same thing. I had to add another. Like I was like cooking in there. I was adding another.
Hey, it's bar. Brad Holmes though. I will say this.
I'll wait because I have something to say when you guys do your thing that I don't think will happen, but I'll save it.
You have to understand though, and when people are like, and I hate the people sometimes who are like, don't trade in mock drafts. Do you know who our GM is?
Oh yeah, you should.
He's traded in the first round 3 of his 4 seasons drafting. Traded up. He hasn't he's traded up. He's traded in the second round, the third round, the fourth round. Like he makes 2-3 trades a season when it comes to the mock draft. So the people who say, "Hey, don't make those trades," no, this is a simulation. We're living in it.
Simulation. All right, I'll start.
Plus, I got a smile over there. Hey, I don't like how Taylor
like
Decker.
Flannel now. Give it all. I've given all I've had. All I know is next year is going to be me motherfuckering at Taylor Decker all season long, boys.
Which is fine.
And guess
what?
You're going to let me.
I will. No, we all because listen, Klotz, guess what's at the end of the year?
Another Super Bowl loss? No, it's not.
No,
what I want.
You're too negative now. You're too negative. There's an opt out. Klotz,
you have
out of it.
This is on. Remember on Friday when I said I want
Super Bowl though.
No, Klotz, this is on Friday when I said I want smart GM Klotz. The smart GM Klotz, if you're putting yourselves in a GM mind, it's probably not.
I understand. No. I understand.
It was the trade. Can I get a ring from you too? Ring.
Yeah. Caleb just check that one's gonna get eaten up.
Oh man.
Yeah, maybe that's not. It was save it for
Oh, does he have a trade clause? Because Honolulu Blues tweeted out can't do it unless he wanted it.
Yeah, no, he had no way.
But
Klotzy's he's got the right mindset. I just disagree with this year, Klotzy. That's the only thing I disagree with you about.
Klotz, you remember when I do, and I'm going to add them to my players on Thursdays, or was it Fridays? I'm going to do the player to question heading into 2025. Taylor Decker will be in that segment at some point, like to keep an eye on. Aleem was the first one.
No, this is like, you know what it is? It's like Hutch. You go and Hutch defensive player there. This is Klotzy. Like you're a year ahead. That way next year you'd be like, I told you motherfuckers this was going to happen. I said it a year ago.
It's happened already though. I go watch the game against the Commanders. I just watched a little bit of it today for fun. Go watch when Jared Goff turns the ball
again. I hate to go back. I hate to give excuses.
4 picks.
The man should have been out for the year with the man should have been out for the year with the knee injury. They didn't have a backup tackle. Like they don't have one. That's the biggest concern probably. It's like the Lions, like Jeff. No offense to you. Like where was Gio? Like.
We don't got to dive into this. Hey, you know what? They're building him.
I want to see Klotz's mock draft, man.
All right, let me. All right,
or yours.
I'll do mine first since I talked about mine earlier, and then we'll get to your guys's. And then we'll chat and grade it, chat and call us idiots, whatever you guys feel like doing. So let's get to it here. Let me get this on for everyone. All right, hold on. I traded up. All right.
Moved up.
Let me talk to you for a second. Hold on. Let me talk to you for a second. All right. You guys hear me okay? Am I good?
Yep.
All right. Let me talk to you guys. So I'm sitting at 28. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to go get my guy. That's what I want to do. I want to go get my guy. And, Mike Green is many Lions fans' guy. He is. Because he's a specimen. That's what he does. 6'4", 250. All right. This guy is a sack machine and a win rate machine. 20.2% pass rush win rate. That's what he does. He wins one-on-ones. So that's what I like to see with Mike Green. And you might say, well, he played at Marshall. Of course, Jeff, he's going to win one-on-ones. Of course. He played Klotzy's Buckeyes.
He did.
Worked him. At least late got a sack on Will Howard. So even against better competition, he stepped up to the plate. Like, he can play the run, willing run defender. And this is someone that I think will be gone around this area. And I've seen Michael Lucci's commented on a video earlier today. He's a friend of the show. And he said he might be gone top 10. So who knows? He could be gone. But I think they should. If you're going to trade up, you're going to get a player like Mike Green. Yeah, I think he's going to blow everyone away at the combine as well. All right. My next pick. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Second round Kentucky guy. Ooh, Josh Paschal. It just reeks of a player that won't fulfill his potential. But let me tell you about Deion Walker. He's a beast. A beast, man. Led the nation in pressures in 2023. That's what he does. He's 6'6", 345, but he don't move like it. You watch him on tape, he's a specimen, an absolute specimen, kind of like Mike Green. These guys are just freaks. And Walker does just that. He can play all around your D-line, but hear me out. He's productive, right? Like last year, not as productive, but in 2023 had a massive year. And for pick 60, I think you're getting great value here. So Walker is high upside. He's from Detroit, Cass Tech, like Jesse says. And not that matters, of course. My last two mocks, I've drafted Detroit defensive tackles in the second round. I don't know if there's a trend there. Derek Harmon and now Deion Walker, but it's fine. We'll move on. I love these two picks. Two defensive linemen. I don't know how you don't take two defensive linemen. I mean, the more you're looking at the board, it's just stacked to the top 60 picks with just defensive linemen. And there's some late, but there's a ton of talent there. My 132nd pick, third selection, I went with a tackle. So Klotzy, I'm taking a tackle. I'm not opposed to taking one. Maybe not as we'll see where we differ on the range of taking one. But I think 132, you're sitting there, what is that, the fourth round? You're thinking, all right, hey, you want to take a tackle? I think Jack Nelson's a good option. Multi-year starter at Wisconsin. You guys know Wisconsin. They breed offensive linemen. They breed them. 6'7", 316. One sack allowed all year. I think the biggest question mark with him, probably his feet, even though he's been very good, has great hands and pass protection. He's projected to be more of a swing tackle in the NFL, but was very good at Wisconsin, talked highly about. And if you want a guy to sit behind Taylor Decker this year, or he can play right, potentially in the NFL, even though he played mainly left, sure, a guy like that, you'd rather train a rookie early. He could play either. So I think he's got that upside too. So I like Jack Nelson a lot here. My next selection, 194, I went with Ricky White. Ricky White.
Come on now.
I know this is a Klotzy guy.
I watched him the other day. Yeah. Ricky White fan.
I knew it. He's a Klotzy guy, Ricky White. I just saw UNLV wide receiver. He's got to be a Klotzy guy. Ricky White, productive, and he wins vertically. This is what you're looking for. Maybe he doesn't have the stature of Tim Patrick, the 6'4", 200 pounds, but he's about 6 foot, $180. But he gets open vertically down the field. Playmaker, 2,500 yards his last 2 years. Highly productive. He's a team captain. Like all academics off the charts, high character. Like the teammates love him. Again, like I said, team captain, which the Lions always look for those type of guys. So, and real quick, I see Full Slate says they don't have pick 101 in there. I said it like this. Think of it. I traded up using that pick. So imagine that. That's how we're going to go off of. So imagine I used the compensatory pick to trade up. That's why it's not there. All right, moving on. I love Ricky White. The best thing about him, though, guys, alignment and versatility. You can play the X, you can play the Y, you can play the Z. Line up anywhere. It's like a little chess piece. Whoop, get open. That's what he does. And he can play on the outside, play in the slot, play wherever you want him. He's very smart. So I love this pick at 194. At 226, I don't need to dive too much into it. It's my guy, Jalen Walker. I've already talked about him a lot. You're going to see some guys I continuously take. I thought about Johnny Walker here, another edge. I took 2 edges last draft, but I went with Jalen Walker. So those are a couple guys I'm going to like late here. But a new guy that I took is, remember the name, Dante Trader Jr.
Remember the name.
Remember the name. All right. He listen, 3-star coming out of high school, went to his dream school, Maryland, from the Maryland area. You know what he did? Played in 12 games his freshman year. He got better every single year. Fluid in coverage, a great tackler. Like, he is the definition, special teams right away, and maybe rookie years early. We'll see, because he's played a lot of football in his college career. You move Brian to nickel sometimes? Hey, Dante, come out here. Make plays. That's what he does. I like Dante Trader a lot. 229, it's like, dude. Special teams, everything. You can do it all. So I love Dante Trader Jr. I think the Lions will as well. And then I got Tommy Hill. You had him in your mock last week, Boone. Quarterback out of Nebraska. Again, this is one of those flyers. Lengthy corner. That's what you're looking for late. You know, hey, you want a DB? There you go. There's your Emmanuel Mosley replacement. Can you play a snap? He would already be doing more than Emmanuel Mosley did last year. So if Tommy Hill can play a snap, he's doing more than Emmanuel Mosley. All due respect. So I took a corner late. There you go. That's my mock draft. And yeah, what do we think?
I like it. I like it. I like Mike Green. I know some people don't like Mike Green because he's a small school guy, but when you're talking about him earlier, when you dropped the video with the mock draft, I agree with you. If you have that many sacks and you're just consistently dominating, go to the Senior Bowl, you dominate. Mike Green's a guy that reminds me a lot of Khalil Mack as far as what he was coming out of college, not so much the player, but the narrative of questioning why he was so good. Khalil Mack, ironically, went off against Ohio State when he played. I know Mike Green didn't go off, but when you look at what he did, he was without a doubt one of the better players on the field, period, whether it was Marshall or Ohio State. So if you put him in the first round, I'm happy. You can wrap the draft up there. Brad pick next. And then I don't really, honestly, I'm going to be honest, Deion Walker, not too familiar on. You nailed the Ricky White, love Jalen Walker, and then Trader's nice as well. He made a couple plays against Ohio State through his career too. So I like it.
Tommy Hill, 245. Talk to me. Hey, Tommy's gonna be good. I like the Jalen Walker. Hey, I like this, UCJ. I'll give a little sneak peek. I have Deion Walker this week as well. Absolute dog. I don't care about Josh Pascal. Give me Deion Walker.
Yeah, he's one of these second round Kentucky guys are gonna work out.
So, and they have to, right? You got to just keep taking them until one of them works out.
One of them that.
The Mike Green thing. I'm interested again. Like the first round trade up. I'm just interested to see. I think 16 Mike Green might be there. It's one of those things to where I guess you have to see how it falls with a guy like Mike Green, to where if he goes early, but if he's sitting there, you get to pick. Remember last year, you start seeing some of these guys drop, and you're like, how's he getting 14? Yeah. Oh, he's at 14. He's at 15. Brad's like, oh, if he gets to 16, we're pulling the trigger on this trade. And like, oh, okay, we did it. And I think that's a situation with Mike, to where if that happens, I need to do some more. I need to learn about Jack Nelson, Ricky White. I've seen. I think me and Klotz were talking. I think he brought him up last week off air to me when we were talking about my guy from what's his name, Klotz, the running back, the speedy guy from I think it might be like Wazoo, Washington State kid.
Oh, Ricky? Kyle Williams.
Kyle Williams. That's my sleeper, man. I think he's going to be an absolute dog. I think you brought him up, and I watched a little Ricky White then. Good. I need
solid, fundamentally sound.
Yeah, Dante Trader Jr., man. If you say remember the name, I got to go watch it, because I've watched a couple safeties late in this in like that are going to be available in the 7th, 6th, 7th. I need to see that. And by the way, too, JT Olson, I don't know how to say the guy's last name, but Donovan Izaraku. I keep seeing his name pop up.
Guy, right?
Yeah, I keep seeing his name pop up more and more. If he's at the I want to see him on Friday or Saturday, whenever the edges go. That's a guy I've written him down already, JT, because everyone's talking about him and he's moving up. So I'll take note of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, that's my mock. We're doing trade ups. That was the only trade I made. So I traded with the Arizona Cardinals. So if I'm the Cardinals, I guess makes sense for them. It's like, hey, unless I love Mike Green, unless they want to take Mike Green, but if they're not in love, if they think this class is deep, trade off to 28, get more picks, and get Nick Scorton, for example, or someone like that.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for kind of both angles, unless they love Mike Green, but who knows? All right. We'll get who's going next? Klotz, you want to?
I'll go next. I'll get mine out the way.
All right, let's
have it flow with the segment that we just had.
All right, let's go, Klotzy.
Oh, this one's gonna be fun.
All right,
I feel like I'm attacking Klotzy. I love Klotzy.
Come on now.
There's just a lot of things happening today.
This is my solution to the Taylor Decker situation. You move up from 28 to 9 with the New Orleans Saints. Now you ask why the Saints? Because the Chicago Bears are at 10, San Francisco 49ers are at 11. And I think you got to move up in front of those guys. I gave up this year's first at 28 and next year's first, wherever that would land. It's probably going to be from 28 to 32. But again, this is obviously if you don't go the Myles Garret route. I'm giving up 2 first-round picks, and I'm moving up, and I'm getting you a guaranteed all-pro in Josh Simmons. Josh Simmons was going to be a top 5 pick before the injury, and then you look at, okay, injury, when's he going to come back? He's going to come back. He's going to be healthy for the start of NFL training camps. And if you watch Josh Simmons, he, without a doubt, is in consideration healthy with Will Campbell for the best tackle in this draft class. If you bring in Josh Simmons and you put Penei Sewell, your offensive line is set now for the next decade, and I think you get cheaper, like I said. Now, moving on to round 2, we traded up again from 60 to 42 with the Jets. You know who we gave up, Jeff? We gave up 60, and we gave up Hendon Hooker. Hooker, the curb, and we went up and we got Kyle Kennard, the best defensive player in college football this year. He got the award for it, led the SEC in sacks, absolute monster. He fell to 42, so I went up and I got him. I think he brings you instant production day one. Guy that can probably get you at least 7 to 8 sacks as a rookie year, and he fits what they want to do on the outside. Trey Harris, you keep him, Patrick, but you watch Trey Harris. You watch what the Ole Miss Rebels do with wide receivers when you have the option to go Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and Trey Harris. Goodbye to any secondary that wants to cover that. And now, when Tim Patrick leaves, you have a replacement for him. But now you have more leverage when it comes to money with J-Mo, because if Trey Harris hits, which I love Trey Harris, you have leverage like, hey, we got a wide receiver too waiting. So if you want to stay here, win a Super Bowl, that's fine. Just take a little less money. Or you can go to the Pittsburgh Steelers and get bounced in the wild card round. But I love them. Another player, Boone, we talked about Ty Robinson out of Nebraska last week. This guy.
It's a Boone guy.
I'm telling you, Boone, look up Riley Mills. You'll be in love. Riley Mills is a guy that had 8.5 between the last 2 years, defensive tackle. This man's fucking gigantic, by the way, boys. He was a top 5 recruit coming out of high school. First year, 3 sacks. Second year, 3.5. 2023, 2.5. This year, 7.5 sacks. But when you watch what he did at Notre Dame, he got to the quarterback, and he was lethal against the run. If you look at him with his film, first 2 years against Ohio State, dominated. When you look at his film against all the big schools that he plays against, Riley Mills shows up. This is John Kaminsky on steroids. This is exactly what you need, because you have Aleem McNeil coming off injury, so you're going to need somebody to fill in for him. In my opinion, they're going to go get another defensive tackle in free agency as well, but you have DJ Reader, Mekhi Wingo, Josh Pascal. I don't think you need to – it's an absolute need to go up and get a defensive interior guy if you can get a steal like this on Riley Mills. Going back to the edge spot, we got Kyle Kennard. We got another SEC guy in Johnny Walker, who, Boone, you brought it up. I don't understand how this guy's sliding. I guess he's not the most athletic, not the biggest, but he has fucking production. Johnny Walker at Missouri is a highlight reel. Then we go back to the interior of the offensive line, get Dylan Fairchild. Honestly, boys, didn't really do too much research on Dylan Fairchild. SEC guy, Georgia. They produce some dogs sometimes.
I took him last week. Yeah, he's a good dude.
It's a 7th round pick. Hope he develops. And then Malachi Moore, you put me on to him, Boone, as far as it being a steal in this year's draft. And then I think it's going to be every time, boys. Last pick in all my drafts can be Jabbar Muhammad. So I understand a lot of movement. Not saying this is exactly what's going to happen, but if I was sitting at GM, this is what I'm doing. This is how I think you can hit all the spots of need, and they're all play day one now type of guys as far as in the first 4 rounds.
Wow.
I do have a comment.
Riley Mills, I had to dive more into. I think that's an underrated pick. Riley Mills.
I have to watch some of Riley Mills. If you're saying he's a Ty Robinson type guy, I have faith.
Yeah, he's a big guy. I mean, hey, I don't.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Boone.
Klotz again. This is just must be one of those days where it's just Klotz versus Boone, and I'm not meaning it. I'm just trying to get a sense of the situation here. We knock Brad for taking injury guys who were coming off injury. Josh Simmons tore his knee up a couple months ago, and you're like, hey, trade Taylor Decker and bring in this guy who. I mean, is he going to be ready week 1? Oh, we don't. I mean, and we want him to step in and play in one of the best offenses in all football. Why wouldn't you just go get some Calvin Banks, Will Campbell? Like, if Brad trades up into the top 10 and he's not going after Will Campbell or Calvin Banks or the Armand Membo or whatever however you pronounce his name, I apologize. Then I'm like, whoa. Like, you could, like, that's again another irresponsible move. You could get Josh Simmons at like 22 if you really wanted to.
No,
I've seen every mock draft I looked at. He's at like 26, 21.
You're thinking of the guard. You're thinking of the guard.
Josh, I went and looked at 3 mock drafts.
Josh Simmons is mocked to the 49ers or Bears in pretty much every mock draft.
I saw
Calvin Banks
I'm
answering your question now. Okay, you asked the question. The risk with it, yes, injury. If Josh Simmons came out last year, top 5 pick. If Josh Simmons came out this year, top 5 pick. If you're telling me you can get a guy in Josh Simmons who is going to be healthy day 1, week 1 of next NFL season, and he would be in the range of a Penei Sewell top pick, let's go back in the NFL draft, especially over the last 5 years. Tell me the guys that have missed in the top 10 at left tackles, because you know how many there are? 0. Right tackles, a couple. Left tackles, 0. So the hit rate on left tackles, especially with Josh Simmons, who you're getting a value at that can be the Penei Sewell, and arguably who does Josh Simmons get compared to? Trent Williams. That is his comparison of the draft, is Trent Williams. You're getting a guy that can be a top-level offensive tackle at 9, and you're still getting pass rusher, defensive interior. Oh, and we're giving you an offensive wideout.
I just don't see
every
trading to the
situation.
top 10 to go get Josh.
I don't
Simmons.
know if
I'm
it's a
just being
realistic
honest.
situation, but we've seen Brad go up 20 picks for a guy with a torn ACL who wasn't going to be healthy week 1, and he's paying dividends now.
And again, these are counter arguments to where you're not consistent with your argument sometimes. A week ago, you tell me you don't want to trade up for a guy that's might not be ready right away, but today you're like, I'll
Josh
trade up
Simmons
for a
will
guy.
be ready right away. You look
100%.
Booner, Google right now, Josh Simmons return date from injury.
Because I think he did it in
Just
November.
go
I'm just
look it up.
saying,
It's
like,
free-
is he
it's
going to
free
be at that?
information.
Is he going to be at that level
We
though?
can all
Is he
use
going to
the
be at the
internet.
Josh Simmons level that
He
you want to
he
take
got
him?
hurt
Is he
week
going to? I'm
7.
asking a simple question. Is he going to be at
And
that
I'm
level?
answering. You said he's not going to be ready. I'm telling you, he got hurt week 7.
I'm
out in the
asking, is he going to
SEC
be at that
championship.
level? Is he going to be at the
Josh Simmons
starting
will be,
NFL
yes,
level?
it might not be a proven fact. In my opinion, Josh Simmons day 1 is to the level, if not better, than Taylor Decker. Without
Let's
a doubt.
keep a mark on this and see where Josh Simmons goes in the draft, because I'm
Okay,
interested
we
to
can.
see if
Yeah,
if the Lions would have to trade in the top 10 to get Josh Simmons.
It might not be top 10, but my point was being the 49ers and Bears are right there. Those teams are both needing.
They'll take Kelvin Banks.
Will Campbell is gone. Kelvin Banks, he was gone in both those picks. If they're both taking left tackles, Josh Simmons, Kelvin Banks are going to be there. Not to mention you have the Bengals that are sitting there. You have the Cardinals. There's all these teams that can use left tackles. Hell, the Colts could take a left tackle if they wanted to. All these teams, left tackle is one of the most valuable positions in football. You might not have to trade up here, but I'm just doing something that I would do. This isn't saying this is what Brad Holmes is going to do. That's not what your mock draft is. This is what in my opinion, Brad Holmes should do.
Lions mock draft. I'm doing what I think Brad could do. I think mine, Brad's gonna do.
Okay,
he's gonna do Klotzy.
I have Josh probably 10 to 15. I think that's because to your point, I think the Bears, and I think he doesn't make a pass there. I don't know who had him at 25. That dude's on crack.
I mean, I think it was I would just pull it up right now.
Whoever had, I personally haven't seen one of him.
I'll pull up here. Who's Dan? You want me to pull up Daniel Jeremiah maybe? Daniel Jeremiah mock draft 2.0. Let's see. I'm clicking on a random one. Let's see where the tackles go. Random one. First tackle off the board. Will Campbell at 4. All right. Next one. Kelvin Banks to the Chicago Bears at 10. Next tackle. Ormond from Missouri at 14 to the Colts. Keep going.
Who does he have the 49ers taking?
Will Johnson. Josh Simmons, 23 to the Green Bay Packers.
Go ahead.
So my point is it's like 9 for Josh Simmons, knowing he's coming off the injury. Kelvin Banks is going to go before him. Will Campbell, Armand potentially. Like you could go back and forth. I'm not really nitpicking the pick, Klotzy, which I wouldn't take a tackle. I'd go edge. It's just like it would be irresponsible to go up to 9 to snag that man.
That's fine. I disagree, but that's fine.
All right, let's.
I like what you did. The last point.
No, do not say no.
No. I like what you did. The point of like, hey, I just want to show the people I want to trade up for a tackle. That's fair. Because I did say last week. I said, hey, I wouldn't be mad if they went offensive line in the first round.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, Brad. Let me keep it a stack though, and I know Lions fans. If Brad did this, they would all love it. Brad traded up for that's a steal. You know that. We know that.
Yeah, 100%.
They'd be like, dude, this is amazing. Like Josh Simmons, right? There'd be some that would be like, what the hell? But there'd be like, trust Brad. You know,
I'd give Klotzy one of the biggest kisses on the cheek in the world if he ends up trading up to like 9 or 10 and grab Josh Simmons. Yeah. I'd be like, Klotzy, you're the smartest man of all time. I love you so much.
All right, let's get to yours, Boone. Let's see what you got. By the way,
I'll come for vengeance versus mine. Like he's like, I don't. He might love mine.
If I like it. I like it.
Yeah, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. All right, Boone.
All right, here we go.
What happened?
I had options. I made trades, and I might go back-to-back weeks winning and going first overall here in our mock drafts. Boys, because this draft, and Jeff, I think I texted you this. I said, I'm going to I'm going to move up in the second round. I might move up in the third or the fourth round. But I know when he's drafting and he's sitting there in the draft room, you know what he does, boys? If he sees a guy he likes, he makes the move up. All right. Oh, now we're in the third round. Oh, there's a guy I like at 84. I'm moving up. Oh, there's a guy at 190. He moves up and he moves up. So that's exactly what I did when I realized, hey, there are certain guys that are available. I'm going to move up and I'm going to get the guys that I think are going to be great NFL players, day one players. So first overall, 28th in the first round, I took Jalen Walker, boys. I think he is some reason, I don't know what's happening. I've seen him mock drafts him going in the top 20, and recently I've seen him going in the top 30 and falling past 30. And I don't know what it is, but if there's an opportunity where a guy like Jalen Walker falls to you, boys, you cannot pass it up. If one of those tackles are available, this guy's available. When you need next year is you need some edge presence. You need Klotz, that position there with like a Derek Barnes. Like if you can get a guy coming off the edge like Jalen Walker at that level, the man is 20 years old. I think he can't even have a legal drink in America right now. He's got to go to Australia to have a legal drink or wherever countries you're able to drink at 18. This kid is he is unbelievable. He's
go to Canada.
Freak. Yes, dude. He can go to Canada, but he's 20 years old. And I think, listen, you're talking about like the future Klotzy. This guy comes in and makes an impact right away. He'll be an all-pro. He'll be an all-pro defensive player by what? 24 years old. And you still have him on a rookie deal, and then you can work out contracts later. Second pick I did at 49, boys. Hey, you boys already know this. I love Jaden Higgins. I love him. The man had like 1,200 yards and like almost 10 touchdowns this year. What is he, like 6'4", maybe 6'5"? Wingspan's unbelievable. I saw something today. His drop rate through his 3 or 4 years in college. Oh, no. Wait. Terrible news, boys. Full slate farms. Jalen Walker turned 21 today. Tough. That's a tough one. What are the chances of that, actually?
Yeah.
That's
now we can get a drink. All right.
Now you can get a drink. Hey, a little bit more mature for the boys then. But Jaden Higgins, boys, I think I saw something today. He was like a 3% drop rate throughout his whole career in college. Like the man does not drop the ball. And he's that Tim Patrick replacement to where even if you want to bring Tim Patrick back, you could still bring in Jaden Higgins to kind of be that next man up to take over that position over the next 3 or 4 years here in Detroit. I'm not going to talk about Deion Walker. Jeff, you already went on your tangent a little bit ago about Deion Walker. Just an absolute dog from Detroit. Where did he play, Jeff?
Cass Tech.
Unbelievable. And then 190, I did this, boys. This is... I don't know why he was available at 190. I think I did a couple mocks last week when I did it. And Jake Majors, I don't know if he's starting to fall. I don't know what's happening with Jake Majors. This dude's a dog. He started in like almost 60 games. And I think it was like a program record at Texas, one of the biggest football colleges in the history of college football. And he has like the record for starts there. He is an experienced guy. He's one of the, I would say this, when I was reading up on him, they're saying like he's one of the best as a center, one of the best pass blockers in this draft. And the thing that he needs to improve on is run blocking. But if you think about it, hey, you bring a guy like Jake Majors in, hey, let Frank just work with him for a year or two. Let him learn under Frank Ragnow, under one of the best in the NFL, and he will eventually, hey, get stronger, get in the weight room, work with Frank, work with Hank Fraley, and he's going to end up being your next center up behind Frank Ragnow. So I love that one. 194, Klotz. Do you know Jason Marshall? Are you familiar? All right, we're going to have to watch some film on him this week when we go to the Combine. We'll watch him at the Combine. Guys, let me flip my notes over here. This guy, the last 2 years, 12 games each year, over 10 pass deflections each year, Klotzy. And they say, hey, he's got long arms, and they said he's one of the best man corners in the draft. Obviously at 194, but he's an absolute dog when he just, hey, go up, press a guy, you know what I'm saying, Klotzy? Up against big body wide receivers, and they said that he's going to be a starter in the NFL, and I love to hear that. Getting that at 194, let him come in here and let him earn it. That's what we need. We play. Hey, need a guy like Jason Marshall.
I bet Mel Kiper said that, huh?
No, not Mel Kiper. I have my own people. I text someone. I said, hey, tell me a little bit about Jason Marshall. They text me back. Said long arms, great press man corner. I was okay. I like that. I like what I hear. What do we run here? Hey, what does Kelvin do, Klotz?
Coach is Boone.
Little man, he likes his corners, and man, you know. All right, Malachi Moore. I just went Malachi Moore again. Love him. Yeah, that's gonna be one of my guys this offseason. 229. This is where I text you guys this morning. I sat at this 229 pick for a little bit, and I decided I wanted an edge rusher. I wanted one. There was about 7 that I was going through. Some reason I just kept coming back to Johnny Walker, and I was like, I can't figure out why this guy is sitting here at 229. Like, I could not figure it out. I text you boys. I say, hey boys, what's going on with Johnny Walker? And no one really knows. Like, the man, he's got speed, he's quick, he's fast, got hands, he has everything, and he had 9.5 sacks. So it's like, what's going on with this guy? There's something with it. Maybe it's his size, maybe a little undersized. Either way, we had James Houston, a little undersized guy. Bring Johnny Walker in to create havoc. I love that one. Klotz, I did this one for you. Don't know how to say his last name, but Tyler Shaw.
Yep.
I know it's a quarterback. I know
Mel loves him.
Dude, he's very good. If you will, I watched his film and highlights today. The man put on a string. Very smart decisions. He threw for like 3,500 yards this year and like 20-something touchdowns, couple interceptions, maybe 5 or 6 interceptions. He played lights out all year. But this is just one of those picks. I went back actually when I took the quarterback, and I went back to go see like, hey, do contending teams take quarterbacks late in the draft? They do. Like the 49ers, when they were kind of in that kind of spot figuring it out, the Brock Purdy pick. Like, there are just certain picks where some teams just, hey, let's just take a flyer on a guy. I think this is a perfect, when you have 3 7th-round picks, it's a perfect time to say, hey, let's just, if Tyler Shaw's there at 245, try it. Let's see what happens. Bring him in. Let Hendon Hooker compete for quarterback too. Sorry, Jeff, but let's get someone in there that can compete for it. And if we get a guy out of it,
cool with it.
Who cares? Hey, but if you get a guy in there to compete, that's all that matters.
No, I'm kidding. No, yeah, honestly, Boone, I love it. You got a lot of guys in here. I had them, 2 guys that we had last week talked about that I love. I mean, Jake Majors loved that pick. I think he's going to be someone that the Lions should definitely look at. I mean, at pick 190, he could be gone a little earlier, but I love it as a mid-round, like, offensive line. I think it's a splash. We talked about Jane Higgins before. He's productive. The only question I would have, I guess, and you answer it, I'm just genuinely curious. For Jalen Walker, I as a passer, he was productive. He's young, a lot of upside. He's productive. He was productive at Georgia this year. But is he? He's a little on the smaller side. He's like 6'2".
I think you would throw him in, and you boys can correct me. I think you would put him at the Sam and replace him with Derek Barnes.
Yeah,
and put him in different situations. But like, his number one thing from what I'm reading, and I watched actually a lot of him this morning. Because actually, when you did your show, I think it was Shift God in the chat. It was like, Booner, you passed on Jalen Walker on Friday. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. I didn't even realize he was still available. I might have taken him. But then I started watching some more. And he's a dog. Like, coming off the edge, if you have Hutch on one side and say they draft Jalen Walker and brings Zadarius back, but then you have Jalen Walker coming off the other side, like, he's ready to go now. Like, he is at that level, and maybe a little undersized, but at that Sam spot, like, you're upgrading Derek Barnes to a 21-year-old like potential star in this league. Like, that's how people are looking at him. And like, there are mock drafts where I see him going top 15, and then there are mock drafts where I see him going 29, 30. Like, it just depends on how the board falls with him. But he'll be an absolute, like, if you ended up somehow getting him, that would be one of the biggest steals of the draft. That would be like, to me, that's like getting Brian Branch in the 2nd round if you get Jalen Walker at 28. Like, that's what it feels like. He
kind of reminds me of like a Nolan Smith, though, ran like 4.3 or whatever, 4.35, 4.4. If Jalen Walker runs fast, he'll rise. Yeah. Like, and maybe this will be like, because I think Nolan Smith was like a late first, I think.
Yeah, he was. I think he might have
like
28 or 29.
Whatever it was.
7.5. If he falls, like, again, that to me, that's like, you're basically getting, like, that's your Brian Branch of a couple years ago. Like, if you end up getting him late, he shouldn't have fallen, and then he ends up being a Pro Bowler at some point here for that defense.
And I like it too, but I like Jalen Walker at 28, not having to move up to get him either. I think that's great value. Jaden Higgins, a little early for like a wide receiver, but I'm not mad at it because I think Jaden Higgins fits what you want. You're not getting a slot guy, so it's not really a question of the fit. I'm trying to think, like, honestly, there's nothing voice going on. I mean, there's nothing to nitpick really. Like Jake Majors, like you said, Frank Ragnow replacement. So there's not much to it that I really don't like. Like I said, with same thing with Jeff, I got to look more into Deion Walker. I'm not too hip to his game yet, but I like this draft a lot.
Thanks, Klotzy. The thing with the Jaden Higgins thing, it was kind of, and that was where I realized it with like you picking the tackle, like trading up to where you did. I just like wanted to put the point out there of in the second, go up. Like I think there's a lot of really good wide receivers in the second round, like better than last year, like almost to me. And then it's like a guy like Jaden Higgins, if he's sitting there and you get to like the 50s, and Brad's like, let's just make that move. Like, let's get up. Like, let's go. I think they're at 60 right now or whatever it is, 60 something. Like, let's get up into the 50s and snag them before someone else does.
Yeah, I someone said it in the comment section, which I agree with. If Jalen Walker runs well, he's going to
move up. That's why I think there's a couple guys this weekend to see, especially in this first round. It'll be interesting to see. That other Georgia kid too. Is it Michael Williams? How does he do this weekend? Because he's another one of those guys who are. I see mock drafts of him going top 15, but then I see others where he's like falling past the Lions, and people are passing up on him. So it's like some of these guys this week, and those are those guys, Klotz, where the film matches. If they end up performing well, they can earn a couple more million.
If you have outside linebackers running 4.4, you're like, okay. Like
I didn't realize I picked three guys too with the last name of Walker.
Yeah, you got Jalen Walker, Deion Walker, and Johnny Walker. I mean,
any of them are related?
You know, the Johnny Walker one's interesting. I don't know. I had him last week in my mock, and I was still confused, and we still can't figure it out. I mean, I don't know how he's fallen. There's got to be something that's just like. I think it's just the upside thing. It's like, you know, not the biggest, not the fastest. He just gets it done. And if you take him in like the 6th or 7th round, it's like now I did want to say this to you both. Actually, I waited till you got done. This is the only pushback I'll have. And it's not on a player. It's on the picks. Do you think Brad picks 226, 229, and 245?
No. Actually, because when I was picking today,
I don't think he picks 4, 3, 4 in the 7th round. I don't think he would do that.
When I was picking today, I was trying to. When I got to 229, I was sitting there and I was like, "How can I turn this into one?" And it was kind of too late at that point because, you know, when we were doing it on PFF, like I was already at 229, so I couldn't move up. So I was just trying to figure out. I don't know. I just got to a point where I was like, I really don't want to have to figure this out right now.
Yeah, you're just kind of picking dudes in this.
And then when I got to 245, I was like, can I just like not pick 245 and just like trade back for a 5th next year or something, or a 6th next year? But no, I'm with you though. Yeah, 3 7s is tough.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say to both of you. I was like, I doubt Brad has like 3, 4 7s. I mean, maybe he's sitting there just going, I'm gonna cook, and he takes like two starters. Finds like a Christian Mahogany or something.
Dude, I mean, last year he did pick a couple guys like late like that, like the Mahogany in the 6th. Like that's an unbelievable pick.
All right.
Who else did he get in the 6th last year?
That was I think it was who was it? I don't think they had a 7th, did they? Or
not that I can think of. I think Mahogany and Wingo were the last two.
Wingo, that was another one. Yeah. Ryan said we only have 2 7s, so it must be the late ones there, 6 and 2 7s. So either way, that's
yeah. He said they only have 2 7s. Yeah, I mean, did you guys acquire another pick maybe or something? I don't know.
No, I mean, go to yours. What does yours have? I think you have the same one. I think that's just a late 6. That.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, I think it's just a really late 6, so it's essentially almost a 7.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you just got 190, and then Klotz had 132. So, yeah, You guys just had Aaliyah. That makes sense. All right. Well, there you go. There's our mock draft Monday. Trading up. Well, Boone, you traded up in the 2nd, right?
Traded up in the 2nd, and I think I traded up in the 3rd or the 4th. I traded for Jaden Higgins, and then I traded up. Let me check my graphic real quick that I sent. I traded up in the 2nd to get Jaden Higgins, and I traded up in the 3rd and got Deion Walker.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I like Walker, dude. It's a big man. That ain't no Broderick. That's a. You know what they say like Shamar Stewart? It's like this guy. He's so big. He's 6'6". He's 280, 270. He moves well. It's like okay, you can get Deion Walker. He's not the type like Shamar will play on the edge, maybe play a little inside. I think Walker's more inside, can play outside situation. Yeah. He's probably more inside, but. Imagine, like, in the future, you have Walker and you have a Lee McNeil next to each other. It's like,
jeez. I mean, even this year, dude. If you just opt into Za'Darius and you just kind of started building and maybe go get another free agent, go get like I say Khalil Mack, but like, you know what I mean? Like, just go get someone. If you get Jalen Walker in there,
yeah, I see you guys. You talk. I saw the conversation. I actually was clipping everything today, and I saw you talked about Ali McNeil. People were coming after you about it, or what?
No, I don't think there was actually Klotz. I feel like the chat there was like 70% of the people who were like, "Hey, it's not a." I mean, it's not a wrong point. It's not that I'm saying he's going to be bad or he will. I'm just saying, hey, he needs to step up this year. Like, yeah, it's like this is when you get that type of money, when you're the third highest paid position or player at your position, the expectations flow with that. Like, there's no like, hey, you can just have 3 sacks again. You can have 4. And he's not like a run stop. He is a run stopper, but like his thing is like get to the quarterback and make it a play. And when you look at people that get paid that amount or who will be getting paid that amount, like they're out there getting 7, 8, 9, 10 sacks. And when you're making that much money, you have to produce. Like, bottom line, like if you pay Amon-Ra St. Brown 30 million,
yeah, he knows what it is.
And he goes out there and gets half of what he did last year, like he was still first team all pro. What if he wasn't? Like, what if he was like a top 20 wide receiver this year? Someone's gonna say, hey, we need you to step up next year. And I think he knows that. I said my point too is like Aleem knows it. And he's coming off another injury. Like, he had the MCL 2 years ago, and now he has the ACL. And it's just like back-to-back years. You're paying him a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean,
$94 million.
When you get paid, it's like any job. Anyone has a career. You get a big promotion. You get more money. You have to. I mean, expectations rise. It's literally. Yeah. It's very easy to understand. It doesn't mean you're incapable of doing it. You're just stating a fact. Like Jared Goff, now that he's getting paid what he's getting paid, people are going to criticize him as such. It's like, you're paying
when you're Lee McNeil and you go out the first year and like when Aiden Hutchinson's on the field, you have 0 sacks. And the whole conversation about Lee McNeil was he could be that other force that could command a double team when it comes to pass rushing outside of Aiden Hutchinson. And Hutch was on a complete fucking tear. Hutchinson gets hurt. Instantly, okay, Aleem starts, he got 2 sacks against the Cowboys, then he's re-signed, and it's like, okay, up and down, then he gets hurt. So it's not like he's somebody that we're saying is bad, but if you were to invest, what was it, how much did he get?
94.
94. So if you tell me if you invested 94 in a car, in a house, in anything, and the first year of a $94 million investment, you got it blown up in your face a little bit, you would be concerned, especially when you look at the other $94 million investment. So it's not a question whatsoever. Like Aleem was a guy that everybody, when he signed, was like, you're basing this on projection. Well, a torn ACL does not help projection down the road. Doesn't mean that he's cooked. But again, Aleem McNeil, big boy, torn ACL, that's going to affect the outlook of any defensive tackle's career. So there's definitely concern there. Doesn't mean you got to be panicked, but you want Aleem McNeil to live up to that money, and that's a lot of money to live up to.
Yeah, that's why, guys, I would not be upset. I know you don't agree with me. Considering how deep this draft is, I would not be upset with a defensive tackle early. Would not. I would not.
No, especially with like DJ Reader too, is his age.
Like, imagine Kenneth Grant's there at 28. Brad takes Kenneth Grant. Are you pounding the table upset? Like, I'm not.
I think it depends on who else is available, but no, if it ends up working out, I wouldn't be.
I'm not upset at all. I would be like, but there's edges you can get. You could maybe trade up the second round pick, trade up and go get like an edge you like that maybe is there in that area. I wouldn't be.
Are you taking Kenneth Grant or Jalen Walker?
Kenneth Grant.
Yeah, I would. I like Jalen Walker. I think ceiling wise, I think Kenneth Grant can be like.
Do you get into a position? This is where I think Brad has his thoughts. Like, you have Aleem who's going to end up being healthy, and you have DJ Reader. Where does Kenneth Grant fit in if you're going to take him? Where Jalen Walker, boom, right in. Like he's got a spot, boom, day one. He's a starter. To where Kenneth Grant, he's a starter. He should be starting in the NFL next year.
Think.
Who do you like? How do you work him in?
I guess it's not as much like, for example, for a guy like DJ Reader, was he injured? How many games he missed last year? Maybe 1 or 2,
maybe one. If not, he played all of them.
It happens. There's going to be times where, if you do have an injury, I think to have Kenneth Grant there would be awesome. And I think you can even give DJ a break at times. You can work him in sometimes, like I don't know. I think I'm a little indifferent. Like if you tell me you're going to draft a defensive tackle and you're telling me like he's going to be DJ Reader's replacement, like I get it. You want guys that can produce right away, but I can listen to that because DJ Reader's contract's up next year. Like he's almost done. So it's like you got to have a plan.
2 years.
I think if you bring in Kenneth Grant, Lee McNeil's not going to be 100% ready to go week 1 as it's looking right now. So Kenneth Grant would be playing week 1, and maybe he's not a game wrecker, but Kenneth Grant can develop into a game wrecker. Absolutely. There was talks, like even Jim Harbaugh said, he's like, yeah, Mason Graham's here. They've had, who was the guy last year? Defensive tackle that I like. They went to the Bengals. Chris Jenkins is here. Kenneth Grant might be the best out of all of them. And I think the problem where Kenneth Grant starts to slide, it's because he's fallen in Mason Graham's shadow. Kenneth Grant's a guy that I doubt will slide past Jim Harbaugh for 1, and 2, like you put him in, like I said, Aleem's hurt. Now Aleem's back. You put Aleem there, you put Kenneth Grant there, and you have DJ Reader on the rotation, especially in close yardage because DJ Reader's 33, however old he is, he's in his 30s, where he's kind of on his last leg as far as his career, solid player, but he could be a guy that you bring in on a rotation instead of every down can make a fucking impact. So that's the only reason, because Jalen Walker does have some question marks where he's got to progress a little bit, but Kenneth Walker is a guy you can plug in. Kenneth Grant, guy you can plug in right away and he'll be ready to go.
People keep talking about Jahad Campbell. That I keep hearing that name too. I've heard it and it's not a bad thing. I think people really like him. And I think he can be a very good player, but I will say I'm surprised by how much I've heard Lions fans talk about Jahad Campbell.
A lot.
And it doesn't mean he's a bad player. I'm just saying. I'm like, okay, interesting. He's projected to go early second, I would say. But people want him at 28. I don't know. I don't know if I would take him at 28, but again, I'm not Brad Holmes, so we'll see. Full Slate Farm says Kenneth Grant will not be there at 28, probably a top 20 pick. He has elite movement skills for 340. Yeah, I mean, people are saying he's like not exactly, but he's close to Mason Graham. Like he's Mason's getting all the shine, but he's right behind him. Mm-hmm. He's right behind him. All right, let's get to something I did see, because speaking of the compensatory pick, and I traded it hypothetically for the 16th overall pick.
So did I. I threw that in my trade too.
Yeah, let's just say we all traded it to move up at some point, whatever. I did see this, and this was posed online. I believe this was Clutch Points put it out, an NFL writer, and it was a proposition that the Detroit Lions could potentially trade that compensatory pick that they got from Aaron Glenn for Greg Newsome. Oh, Greg Newsome? Hold on. The Greg Newsome? Like the Cleveland Browns cornerback Greg Newsome? Yes. They proposed, and this was shout out to Detroit Times. He's doing good stuff. But yeah, there it is. 3rd round pick compensatory for Greg Newsome II. And I also have a video of Carlton speaking about Dan, but this would essentially be like, okay, you get depth at corner. I don't think he's your CB1, but maybe you trade for him, sign a corner. I think that's probably the idea here. Maybe I'm wrong, but the Browns, I will say this, the Browns have to shed salary.
Fast.
Shout out to Morgan and Miko. They from Pride of Detroit. I watched their video breaking down the Myles contract, and they went into the Browns and how bad the Browns are, like how bad they are, or how tough of a situation they are in with cap hell, like absolute cap hell. They have to shed like a ton of cap, whether that's trading Myles, but even then they still have to shed cap. Like they need draft picks right now. They need cheap players right now. Like Greg Newsome, he does nothing for them right now. They can't afford him. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not surprised that he's being traded, but you boys cool with this compensatory pick for Greg Newsome II?
Klotzy, hey, you're the corner.
No.
You're the corner wide receiver guy.
Fuck no. Golden Tate was traded for a 3rd round pick. Darius Slay was traded for a 3rd and a 4th. Greg Newsome, you just said it, Jeff. He does nothing in Cleveland. What would he do in Detroit? No way, no how. If Brad Holmes got off the phone with Cleveland and he said, I didn't get Myles Garret, I didn't get Denzel Ward, but I got you, Greg Newsome the second. I would say, okay, Ennis Rakestraw, there's another guy that you could have an advantage of going into next season. Greg Newsome is not going to turn around his career. We've taken Cleveland scraps before. We've seen it with Donovan Peoples-Jones. A third-round pick would be statutory. Can't finish that sentence for the Lions if they got him. Like, that would be fleecing, but the Browns would. So there's no way, no how that Greg Newsome should be coming to Detroit for a third-round pick. 5th, 6th, I'll hear you out, but no way, no how. What is Greg Newsome changing?
I mean, I will say he's not a great corner. He's a fine corner, and he's coming up. I think he's on year, what is he, in year 4? Going into year 5, and he was a first-round pick. So, yeah, they got to shed him. They can't afford to extend him. Not that
he's going on year 5.
But, yeah, not that he would cost like a lot or anything. I mean, but still, they can't even pay him any money. Think about it like this. You're looking at the third-round pick. The question Brad would have to ask himself is, do I believe I can get a better player in the third round than Greg Newsome? Answer's probably, it's pretty comparable. You could probably argue yes. So,
or can you use that third round pick to move up into the draft? Because you already have so many third round picks to get a player in the second round or add it on to the first round.
And you have to pay him at some point.
Yeah, his contract's got to be up, right?
I don't know how the 5th year, if they took on the 5th year option.
It looks like a club option. So it'll be a $13 million cap hit this year.
Yeah, they can't afford that. There's no way.
So he has 1 year left on his deal to 13.3. I don't know what it would look like if he got traded.
They would probably, if he was acquired to a team, like if the Lions traded for him, they'd probably say no to that 5th year option, but give him a contract instead. So it starts.
Yeah, I'd probably be out on it, to be honest. Wasn't Greg Newsome someone we were talking about last year at the trade deadline? Or he was like really big. Everyone was talking about him, right?
Yeah, they were.
It's crazy.
Yeah, he's. Let me see, Greg. I'm gonna check something real quick. This year for the Browns, and honestly, he always misses a couple games. So this is like the Carlton Davis thing all over again. He was awful this year.
Like he was bad. Like people are hyping him up. It's like I could understand 2 years ago. I think his first 2 years in Cleveland, maybe 3, weren't that bad. Like Cleveland's defense was really good. But like when you watch him this year, because I remember people were hyping him up and I was looking at him, I was like, I used to like Greg Newsome, but there's zero reason to like Greg Newsome as of right now. Like he's been on the decline.
Yeah.
He still had Myles Garret, Jim Schwartz. Like he still had everything there.
Yeah, I see someone said where I can't find it. Oh, Lions 57, they give us picks to take them. I mean, the Browns are going to be in a position where they're going to have to really like beg teams to trade players. They just are, because they're going to be screwed. That's just the facts. The Browns are in one of the worst situations in sports. Like that Deshaun Watson contract crippled the entire organization. It's crazy to think about.
The thing is like Baker would have had him in a wild card at least.
I know.
Yeah, that was crazy moving on from Baker, man. That's one of the such a bad mistake. I would love to know what was going through their mind. I guess Deshaun Watson, like knowing there was a stuff going on, but like, hey, if Deshaun can be what he was in Houston, that we're getting like, but the money they paid him was like, without knowing, was unbelievable.
Yeah, look at Jesse Adams says, Jeff kept saying, just wait till Mosley gets healthy. Well,
we did have those guys. That was, I thought too. I was a Mosley guy. I feel like we all were at some point.
Yeah,
I'm in training camp. Yeah,
I wouldn't say I was saying like just wait till he gets healthy, but we were like, let's see. We were excited for sure. We were like, I want to see what he's got. You know, he's been through knee injury after knee injury. We didn't even play. So
hey, to be fair too,
far off. I mean,
to be fair, at training camp, to Klotz's point, he was starting at the nickel. Like he was battling for it. And I think it felt like every time we were there and all the conversations from everyone coming out of camp was, hey, he's going to be the starting nickel. And then all of a sudden it was the torn pec. He had a torn pec and shut him down.
Yeah, that was, he just forgot how to play football. I don't know. It was bad.
I think the difference, like what Jesse's saying, is like Newsome's better than Mosley, but like again, Mosley you had on what a $1 or $2 million deal.
Yeah, that's not saying much.
Yeah, like we're like, and we're talking about like the money wise too. Like Mosley, you're paying vet minimum. Like you weren't paying him.
Yeah.
Like Newsome's probably going to want like a decent contract, not crazy, but more than a million and a half, probably 2 million.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Love it. Love the idea. Hey, this is an off season. We're sparking ideas, but some people are just sparking something else, man.
Again, I think we're in a spot, boys. Like this corner situation is going to be very interesting. Like very, like.
Well, what's interesting is the video about the play.
I see the video because that makes me think the corner situation is going to get handled. It's an interesting topic, but I think it's going to get handled.
Let's get to it. This is Carlton Davis. What stream was he on?
I have no clue.
I couldn't even tell you. There's a lot going on in this stream.
There was, I don't know who this is, but he was on like a stream, I guess. And he was talking about Dan Campbell. Random. But hey, let's take a listen to what Carlton Davis had to say.
Bro, it's different for different head coaches, bro. Like, but Dan, he the type to talk to you damn near every day. Like at practice, and just walking through the lock. Like, bro, he literally sat me down. Like, bro, he done did this a couple times where during the season, like, I had a good game. He'll come to me like, boy, you playing your ass off. Like, he'll just say that to you, like, after the game, like, boy, he was like, you more than just a cover corner. You physical too. And he'll say it in front of the whole team. Like, he'll praise you in front of the whole team. That's the first time a coach ever did that. You know what I'm saying? And not just for me, but just for other players. Like, and he highlighting, like, this guy's going crazy. Like, St. Brown blocking. Like, St. Brown blocked the shit out somebody, but that's something that'll go under the water, you know what I'm saying? Because everybody ain't glorifying that, but he glorifying that in the team. He like, this is what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So like, when you doing shit, he watch everything, but he also gonna give you your flowers too. A lot of coaches, but they don't do that.
They just
expect
you to do your job.
Yeah. They think that shit don't matter. We're grown. Like we don't need no like pat on the back. Like what?
But
you want to hear that?
He do that shit because he played, bro.
Yes,
like,
bro. But a lot of coaches play. They play tight end.
That's another thing. A lot of coaches play.
A lot of coaches play and they still
be ignorant though. Right. They be having like this.
Because that's how they were coached though. That's how they was coached. You know what I mean? They be acting all like, bro, relax.
That vendetta still on them.
You know what I'm saying?
But he a real one, bro. Like, bro, I got so many stories I could tell you, bro. Like, of him just being a real one, bro. Like, like he'll call you out too, but on some shit like you hurting the team, bro. Like, what's up? Yeah. And he ain't never gonna bash you, bro. He'll never bash you, bro.
What we doing?
He just make you feel like you feel me. I got to get my shit together for everybody else. You know what I'm saying? He ain't gonna like make you feel like shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, bro. He a real one, bro. Like he my favorite head coach, bro. I ain't gonna lie, that I done played it for, bro.
That's a lot.
That's why I was out there trying to break my jaw for that nigga.
Nah, he kept.
There's a lot going on. Yeah, that's that's a way to end it, dude. Yeah, I mean, based on what he said, I think in his heart he wants to come back. I think it's very obvious. Now, I don't know. He's got to make the best business decision for himself. I don't know what what happens with that, or maybe because he already has a Super Bowl, so he probably at this point in his career wants to play somewhere he enjoys playing, and he's somewhere where he can win. But I don't think when you're 20, is he 28 years old? Like you're looking for your last big payday. That's your last dip into the pot.
I think the money
I get his side too.
As much as like you don't want to say, hey, he like does want to come back, the money does play a factor in it to where he's not going to just be like, hey, I'll come play for $8 million a year. Like, and there is an aspect too to where like when you're getting those contracts, like you have to make sure you're doing right for like the rest of the corners around the league. You could take a discount, but he's going to still be a little pricey. He's probably, again, we've talked about it, out of all the corners in this free agency class, he probably is going to get the first or second most money. So, if he takes a little less, then okay, but it's not like we're going to get him on like the cheapest deal of all time. If he wants to come back, you're still going to have to pay him. I think he comes back after hearing that. Like, I do think they're like players have opportunities to tell their agents, like, I want to be in Detroit. Like, remember Graham this last year? Graham was just like, he told his agent, he said, like, don't talk to me about it. Just I want to be in Detroit. Just let me know when the deal's done. So it's like deal's done. And he got paid a decent amount as well. So it wasn't like he took a massive discount. He still got paid a bit. So I hope Carlton says the same thing. Just tells his agent, just figure this thing out. Let's stay in Detroit.
Yeah, I'm trying to look over. I want to see the highest paid corners because it's. I know Jalen Ramsey's high up there, but I mean, it's tough. Like for his case, like you got AJ Terrell making 20 mil a year. Jair's making. I mean, he's making great money too. I mean, he's about to expire, I think, in a couple of years.
They're gonna cut him.
Yeah, like get rid of him. But like still, you're looking at like L'Jarius just got 19.
Klotz and I were talking about that Friday. Like I think the news came out Friday that the Packers are like officially. It's not like an official, but all reports are that Jair Alexander gone.
Like I wonder what he's thinking.
I just think it's one of those cases where yes, like Dan Campbell can talk, but when you get paid $18 million by the Jacksonville Jaguars, $19 million by the Minnesota Vikings, who have a shit ton of cap space this year, and you can go there for $3-4 million. You can look your family in the face and be like, get a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, and we can live comfortably. And I think at the end of the day, that's what will happen. I hope it doesn't. But Carlton Davis, I do think, is going to look for that last payday just because he has won that Super Bowl. He's been in a ton of playoff runs. And at the end of the day, he just had an injury to his jaw. I know it's a jaw, but it's that quick. Like, think about how much a jaw just sent him out for. So he doesn't know how much longer he truly has to make money in the NFL. He comes out next year, gets hurt. No team's going to want him. So if he can go out there, get a bag, I can't blame him. At the end of the day, I think that's the best move for him as an individual. Obviously not for the Lions. But there's going to be other guys around the NFL, the cornerback spot, that'll drop, just like we were talking about with Jair, that the Lions can go after and get. So it'll hurt, but I don't think Carlton Davis is somebody that it's like you're losing, like you just said, a Jalen Ramsey in his prime or a Sauce Gardner, Pat Surtain. It'll hurt a lot because we saw what this corner room has been. But if you add to that front seven through free agency, it increases the blow a little bit if you're able to go ahead and just get like if you're able to bring in Davis Ward or a Paulson Adebo, I don't think that's very far off of what Carlton Davis is at this point.
Hey, shout out to Adam, by the way. Got super chats I want to get to here. Adam says last year people said that guys like Verse Turner would go top 10 and they didn't. Could happen this draft too. Bring me. How do you say that? How do you say that name, Boone?
Izaraku.
Yeah,
I actually don't know how to say it.
I think it sounds right. All right, Adam, also thank you for the $5, Adam. He also donated $2. So appreciate you for that, Adam. He says, Jalen from Bama. I think he meant Georgia. Booner speaking to me. Let's fucking go. So he loved it. Appreciate you for that, Adam. Hey, the Pistons, by the way.
Did they win?
That's 7 straight.
Jeez.
They are on an absolute heater of heaters. They did. They won. And I know the Clippers didn't have like 3 of their top 5 players or something like that.
So hey, you play who's in front of
win. Yep, that's what matters. Because if they lost, then you'd be saying something different.
You play who's in front of you.
Yeah, James Harden shot 5 of 22. So take that. How about that? Huh? I'm cool with
average
that.
Monday night.
Mm-hmm. Then Cade had 32, 9, and 7. And Duren had 12 and 19.
They got those leprechauns coming up next too, don't they?
Yeah.
At
and then Asar Thompson was dialing a phone number. He had 10, 3, 4, or 10, 2, 3, 4 steals, 2 blocks.
He's been coming along, man. Ironically the same time as Amin too, where he's just, if he can keep contributing like this and be a 3rd, 4th option that they weren't expecting this early, because they all knew defense was there, but I don't know if we thought the offense could be there just now. And it's not like he's a lights out scorer, but he's giving you some life on the offensive side of the ball consistently now.
He's like a solid role player when it comes offensively. Like,
yeah.
You have Cade that's just going to go get you buckets. Tobias is going to go get some. Shout out Tobias has been playing very well. I give some credit to that and Sean. Like Tobias is starting to play. He's starting to get to that level that you need him to play at. If he can do it all year, it's good. But Sar kind of giving you just like solid, just like that 3rd, 4th man type of deal.
But I will say this, and I said this. It was off air though, but it was a couple weeks ago. We were, the boys. We have some team bonding. And I think Caleb was there too. And Mike was there because I said it to Mike. And I said to Mike, I said Asar Thompson, because he was complimenting him. I said, and I'll say this on air too. I really believe Asar Thompson one day will be a defensive player of the year. Not only candidate, but you saw what Marcus Smart was able to do. You look at what Asar does on a nightly basis, dude. He's getting games with 3, 4, 5 stocks, in a game. He does that pretty consistently. It's 2 steals every a couple games. There's a couple blocks here, a couple steals here, a couple blocks here. He's 6'7", crazy athletic. Like, don't be surprised one day he's in that race, dude. He's a defensive player of the year type of player. If he just gets a consistent, I know this is but like a consistent spot up 3, not even asking for like 40%, but like
35, 36.
Yeah. Oh, he's
because right now, what is it, like 20, 17?
Yeah,
it's like unbearable.
So,
but again, like getting to the rim, like finishing, he could do all of that. But if he can get just his shot, he gets that down. This team's going to be very scary in the future. Like if he develops the correct way, and then you have Jalen Duren doing what he's doing. Like Jalen Duren this season taking the step he has. I mean, that man's been unbelievable. Even like defensively, like everything about Jalen Duren has been like he has taken big steps forward. And then you have Malik Beasley as your 6th man. He better win 6th man of the year, by the way, too. That'd be unbelievable.
He should be in there. He should be in that conversation. I think. They're undefeated with Dennis Schroeder. Like, they traded for Dennis Schroeder. They're undefeated with him in the lineup.
30 games.
Dennis Schroeder looks good.
One of them.
I didn't get to watch tonight's game, but
just came in and he knew his role right
Not
away.
that Dennis is the biggest factor, but you get my point. No, they needed a player like Dennis. They did.
Sometimes there are players where it's like, hey, you need these 1 or 2 things to just get everyone clicking. It's like, like an engine. Like, you're missing one piece. You need that piece to just get this thing running right. And like Dennis Schroeder, like I watched last night, and you could tell, like he plays like that spark that they play with. He came in like he wasn't like one of those guys you trade for. He comes in and it's like he's ruining this. No, like he added another element to the team, which is huge. Like especially for a trade deadline, to acquire a guy like that, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, they are they are what 30, 32, and 26. 6 games above
32
5?
wins is crazy. The last 3. I mean, at what point do we just say, "Hey, Troy Weaver, what were you doing?"
Yeah, bum.
Jeez,
bum.
man,
Monty Williams, bum.
I mean, there's a lot of people out in that Pistons, and this is the crazy part. There's a lot of people out in that Pistons world who said a lot of good things about Troy Weaver. Give him time. I know some of these guys are his guys. Nope. Trajan came in right away and said, "We're clearing everything out."
I think
Troy was not. He's not fit to be a GM.
I know what Troy was.
Be like a scout. Like that's what he should just do.
Hey, tell me, boys, Klotz, tell me if this isn't true. Troy was addicted to rebuilds. Like he loved it. Like he just wanted to keep doing
the challenge of having nothing and trying, because you couldn't really blame him at the end of the day.
No, it's like yeah. I mean, he was addicted to it. He was like, I just love the thrill of just constantly rebuilding. Like, I don't want to not rebuild anymore. I want to, next year, I want to rebuild again.
He's the type of guy who really doesn't like to win. Like, he wants to overcome losses at the most, but doesn't really want to win.
You know what? Because being a GM, it's not just drafting. It's managing the cap. It's knowing when to be aggressive. It's hiring the right coach. It's like there's a lot of things that go into it. He's failed at pretty much everything. The cap, he just kept pushing over to next year. They always had money, never spent it. The draft, okay, they hit on some players, cool, but he couldn't manage a roster or hire the right coach. Like,
couldn't even come. I will say this.
So
there's people who take. There's so many people who take victory laps about like, oh, I was so right on Cade. I was right on this guy. Those same people were so far in on Troy Weaver. Like, I love Troy Weaver. He's going to give him time. All he needs is
OKC.
time. Yeah, and it was just like, okay, man. Like,
yeah.
So frustrating. So frustrating.
I always, you know what? I think it's hard. It's hindsight going through it for me. I was blinded for sure because I saw young players that I really liked. But looking back, hindsight, it's easy to be like, yeah, I mean, whoever believed in him was an idiot. But it's like, like the first year, it's like, okay.
I would say first year. I would say like year 3 when we were like
okay,
the last year.
I get
the last year, we weren't even here at crunch time. But last year, when I'm sitting up here telling people, Troy's not it. Troy's not. I'm getting in these arguments. Troy's not it. Troy's not it to like 10 different people. And then all of a sudden, the same people are like, I told you guys so. Look at this. Like victory laps. Like, buddy, you wanted Troy Weaver for the next 10 years. You have no victory laps to be taken.
Yeah,
you probably sit back and you can take your little Cade clap, but everything else, you had no other victory lap. You know what I mean? There's 100 people out there in this world that were doing that. It was like Troy was never it.
I mean, we didn't find out because we always knew, but I think the league now has confirmation that Cade's a number one. He's a championship player. He's the best player. He's an all-NBA player on a team that's 6 games above 500. He's by far their best player. Like that to me is a winning player. He's a winning player. Like
he's putting up what? Like there's nights that man, like the other day, dude, he had like 27 in the first half. He
had an end of a game stats at the half. I mean, he had like
27 and 13.
It's like, what the hell? He's sizzling. That's what he was sizzling.
Like, he ended the other night 38, 12, and 7. And he shot 7 for 10 from 3. Like that's nuts, dude.
I almost don't want to touch the bobblehead in case it's like a voodoo doll. Like I don't want to touch it because it's like while it's sitting over there, we're winning games.
Man. And he had 3 blocks last night too.
If I mess with that bobblehead, it could throw off the entire like butterfly effect. Like Cade, something Cade goes down or something. I'm not touching it. Staying right there. Pistons have won 7 games in a row.
Yeah. I mean, tonight he had 32, 9, and 7 and shot 4 for 9 from 3. Again, he's right now he's playing as one of the best players in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
He should be all NBA. I mean, I'll say it. He's one of the best point guards right now in the league. Best point guard. Mm-hmm. Let me see. Best point guard in the East.
Who else would you put above him?
The West, I guess Shea's like a combo guard, I guess. I don't know. Like Shea, he's not. I guess Shea. What would you put Shea? I guess a point guard.
I'd probably say point guard. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Shea's better.
Shea probably wins MVP.
Luka, when healthy. He's got to be a top 5 point guard, top 3 to 5 point guard. I mean, it just right now.
You're taking him over Jalen Brunson, right?
I would agree with that. And Brunson's very good. I don't want that. I know it sounds. You guys are homers, but like if I'm starting a franchise, of course I'm taking Cade over Jalen Brunson. I mean, I just am. So, yeah, I'm trying to think. I think that's about it. I'm disrespecting.
By the way, I don't know if you guys watched Have you guys watched Bama yet? The Alabama basketball. I texted you guys the other night. Mark Spears, dude plays just like Jalen Brunson. Lefty, short lefty.
And Mark Spears,
dude, go watch him. Go watch. He's so good too. They'll have a chance to win a national championship just because of him. He's so good. I don't know when he'll get drafted.
Is it Mark Sears? Who's that?
No, I think it's Mark Spears. Mark Sears. Yeah, Mark Sears. My bad. Dude, he's so good. You have to watch this kid. I think he's a senior too. I could be wrong. I think he's a senior. But oh my gosh, man, he is so
Mark
good.
Sears. I've not seen Mark Sears play. That's
don't forget me when he averages 19 a game, 19 and 5. Don't forget me when all right.
Yeah,
he's in his 5th year of college. Too.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mark Spears is an NBA. You're thinking
That's
of
on me. That's on me. I was thinking Mark Spears, but Mark Spears. I was watching him the other night. I watched him last year at Bama a lot, and I think he averaged over 20 a game last year at Bama. I remember watching him a bunch because I watched Nate Oates, and then I just turned on the Bama game the other night, and I was like, dude, this kid is still just an unbelievable player. He literally, and if anyone else in the chat has watched this kid, he literally plays just like Jalen Brunson, like the left-handed shot, mid-range, getting to the rim, getting the body, boom, and one.
Boom.
All right, let's get to Mailbag. We got a couple questions here. We'll start. Ball Don't Lie says, most underrated player in the draft. Ooh.
It's a great question.
Morion Hampton, that running back from North Carolina.
Yeah, I'm seeing him going in the first now. Like, he's gonna be a first-round draft pick.
Because we love, boom, Caleb Johnson, the back from Iowa, like he's really good, but there's like a gap between him and Hampton from a lot of scouts, a lot of reviews, and if you watch the tape, you're like, it's like really tough if you're the Chiefs at 32 and they have an offseason where they're able to add to the offensive line. If you're sitting there, like you had Isaiah Pacheco, 7th-round pick, wheels have fallen off that train. Do you really want Kareem Hunt? You saw what happened when you didn't have a running back there. Go bring a running back in at 32. Jeff, I don't think you hate running back at 32 that much.
Staying out of this convo.
I can listen. 5th-year option, though, very valuable.
Give me Caleb Johnson.
You could argue for running back. I would disagree, but you could argue. Most underrated player. No, I like that one. Amari and Hampton. What school does he play for? Was that
UNC?
Okay, UNC. I'm trying to think of like because I don't want to name you don't want to name a guy in the first 2-3 rounds, right?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was about to say Jack Sawyer, to be honest.
Oh, hold on. Let me get this.
But that's still a good one.
I found this guy yesterday, boys, because I'm not going to do him for here's a guy.
That's a good one.
Ty Felton from Maryland led the Big Ten in receiving yards. He's DJ Chark that's run after the catch. He's probably he's just small. He's 6'2", but his frame he's 180, 190. But when you
almost drafted him,
6'1",
I was one of the mocks. I like him though. In the 5th round, he can move.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore, they put out wide receivers.
Kyle Williams.
All right, let's see. Full Slate Farms, I see your question. I'm going to answer it in 1 second here. I'm going to get to Malik. Malik says, Mailbag, when you think about it, considering the events to happen the past season and that we came close to the Super Bowl in 2023, is the DPJ trade the worst move Brad has made?
No, definitely not.
The worst?
No.
What did you give up again?
No, it's not in terms of capital. It's a 6th-round pick, but just a transaction, it's up there. He literally did nothing for you. So maybe
you basically handed them a 6th-round
and you have to take into consideration that was the trade deadline before an NFC Championship appearance. That was your help for the Super Bowl run.
To be fair, I'll give Brad though. To be fair, that wasn't an expectation at the time. The NFC Championship game. That was not.
Well, for a playoff.
Broderick Martin, the hilltopper out of Western Kentucky. Hell, what was it? His mom was downstairs. She couldn't even believe he got drafted at that time. They moved up to get him. No way, no. That Broderick Martin is arguably, I don't even think it's objectively, Brad Holmes' worst move to date. Doesn't mean Brad sucks. That move, though, no way, no how.
Gio?
Gio was 4th though, wasn't he? And we still got some time.
Hey, no, Boone. He's saying Broderick. We'll stake on Broderick. All right, we don't got to throw Manu into this.
Broderick.
Yeah, okay. DPJ's up there though.
GJ's another one.
They were about 26 picks apart.
That's
Broderick and Gio. They could end up just being the same thing, to be honest.
Could. Until no, I'm just kidding. No, I'm joking. All right, we got. I want to answer this one because it's a good one. We'll end the show with this one. Full Slate Farms Mailbag. What's the show plans for Thursday at the Combine? Boone, you want to tell everyone what's going on or what?
Yeah, I think we're doing a normal show. Us three will still be going. As of right now, we're still trying to figure out a place to do a show. Worst case scenario, just for the people, we'll just be we have hotel rooms. We'll just be doing the show out of like we did last year, sitting on our hotel beds, just rocking out a show. These are probably some of the biggest shows that if you're gonna watch, we're gonna be watching players all day Thursday, all day Friday, potentially meeting with different people, coaches, players, just throughout the 2 or 3 days that we're gonna be there. So there'll be 2 big shows Thursday and Friday night. So it should be a good time. But we'll still be live 8 to 10. Maybe a little, maybe not as long. I don't know how long. It depends on what's going on those nights. If there's somewhere we have to be that night, if we end up talking, shaking hands with some people, having to leave, but we're for sure going to be live at 8 p.m. both nights. And then Saturday morning, the fellows will be for their 10 a.m. show, I think.
Yeah, that'd be a good. I think that'd be good, depending on what time they start at the Combine. I don't even.
Yeah, I think they start at. Oh, yeah, that's true. They start at 1, so I guess it depends on what time. What time we'll want to get out there.
The good thing is, and also big thanks to all of you guys, and potentially girls, but all you people in the chat. Appreciate all you, because last year when we did the show, we had the handheld mic. This year we got a little bit. Hey, we got some upgrade. We got some lighting. We got the headsets. The equipment will be improved. I know last year that was kind of the. That was really the early days, though. If you think about it, that was the first.
That was our first 2 weeks,
month and a half. Yeah, not even a month, and we were just already on the road. We were just like, hey, we'll just bring this with us, and then this year it'll be better.
Yeah,
so I'm excited for it. So there'll be shows Thursday and Friday.
We have some interviews too. I think it's going to be funny. At first I was kind of off of it because I wanted it, but if we do interviews and we don't have a place to do them, you guys heard some of the potential names. Just having some of the big people in the NFL just sitting in a hotel room with the boys is probably the funniest thing. Don't let me sit on a hotel bed next to a head coach. Say, Booner.
It's you're Trying to think.
Sit next to Andy Reid. Have him
Calvin
have him
Shaq,
next to like Shanahan, just some coach that's just not gonna be having it.
That'd be so funny though,
Fuck
dude.
off,
That'd
man.
be so good.
Hey, I'll talk to Sean McVay. Be like, hey, actually, I won't even say that. All right.
Yeah, don't say anything.
I
You're gonna say something about some people we could have on, and they'll be in trouble.
No, I was going to say something good, but Lions fans probably won't like it. All right,
negative about the guy.
We'll get out of here. Appreciate all you. We'll see you guys tomorrow, and then Wednesday's the doc, and then Thursday, Friday draft coverage. But until tomorrow, we appreciate all of you, and
Love you guys.
we will catch you. See ya.
Peace.